This is Space Cat's Peace Turtles, the unofficial podcast for Fantasy Flight's Twilight Imperium. Episode 33, Agendas! Music by Ben Prunty, featuring Matt Martins and Hunter Donaldson. Hey everybody, it's just Matt. Just me and you, starting this one off. How you doing? Feeling good? That's good. I'm glad to hear it. We are having a fun little episode this week. It's a Galactic Council episode that we recorded with our dear friend Alex. We played a game on stream last week, and it was a wackadoodle game. So we actually spent about the first 20 minutes of this episode talking about that game in detail, going through it, what we thought about it, some of the strategic moments, and then we jump into a conversation about agendas. We go through every single card in the agenda deck and talk through different circumstances we do or don't want to see that agenda come up. But if you want to avoid that first conversation because you haven't watched the live stream yet and spoilers are important to you, why don't you go ahead and skip to 22 minutes and 52 seconds, and that way you won't have anything spoiled for you and you can just get that agenda discussion. So without further ado, I am now about to start the episode, but it starts with some spoilers. So again, jump to 22:52 to avoid spoilers. Here we go. Yeah, that was a weird game that we played yesterday.
I had a lot of fun.
I had a lot of fun too.
I had significantly less fun.
Matt had a SAR game, is what Matt had.
Yeah, right off the top, Hunter won.
What were the... So let's talk about you first, because
Sure.
let's get the negative stuff out of the way.
Sure.
What do you feel like... So Matt played as SAR, I was playing as the extra, Alex.
I was playing as Mentech.
What do you feel like... What cost you the game, Matt? Like, what hurt you the most? Because you got hurt a lot. You got beat up a lot.
I was Xchaw's neighbor. Full stop. The fact that Xchaw was my neighbor ruined everything for me. The other thing would be we were playing with the goofiest map ever, and
Which I ended up... I feel like you liked it too.
It was super fun, but it did not do a SAR sitting next to Xchaw any favors.
No.
Because we both kind of needed to be in the same spot.
What do you feel like
wins.
What did you need to get leverage over me? Was it the kind of thing where we maybe walk away from this game feeling like SAR versus Extra just wins, or like what do you think? How could you have gotten underneath me, or like
I needed Alex to not be your buddy.
You needed
Alex
you
and
needed
I
Alex.
both, because that's the thing. We've talked about this in our just regular conversations about this game. Xchaw needs coordinated attacks against them. One person is kind of always going to have a little bit of difficulty taking out Xchaw, especially because you got nullification field very fast.
I had a yellow skip, which by the way, a yellow skip is real good for Extra.
Yeah, and so for me to do anything against you single-handedly was just never a practical choice. But if Alex and I had both agreed we need to deal with the Hunter problem, then whatever. But this whole game was you two rising to success by having a pretty tight, economic alliance. Mm-hmm. Not an alliance, but, the two of you were interlinked money-wise for most of the game. And that shut me out, and based on your actions and your threats against me, I had to just run away, and the direction I had to run away into was in someone who didn't want me in their piece. There was nowhere for the SAR to go. It was so thematically fitting for the SAR because I was just please, someone let me have a planet. Let me just stay anywhere, somewhere. And my whole game was basically on the run or locked down in one system for 3 rounds because I got diploed twice.
That was insane.
Thing.
Yeah.
So bad luck mixed with bad neighbor mixed with one bad... I would say I made one bad move that unfortunately cost me pretty much the entire game, which was I decided to, instead of just retreating into my home system and hoping I could make it work later with no knowledge of how that could have happened, I was like, well, I guess I'll just expand into the Nalu, and that was my demise, because that was taken as an aggressive action, and I was shut down pretty handily after that, despite not being in the lead ever at any point in the whole game.
Well, I think a takeaway for like everyone listening at this point would be, if you are SAR, do not let someone control a planet that your ball is sitting under, because that
sucks.
I mean, Clancy's.
You need to take planets.
Clancy was the one that diploed Matt over and over.
No, Clancy and.
Oh wow, they both
Keaton.
did it to you.
They each had a planet underneath me, and they both diploed me. So yeah, when I didn't focus on infantry well enough, and I mean, we just got done with the Ghost Guide last week. I feel like every single faction needs to focus on infantry more. Like, that's just a straight up rule of Twilight Imperium, is infantry are super important, and when you go somewhere, you need to take the planets that are there.
Right.
100% of the time. Like,
right.
You will secure your position better if you take stuff. And so you just need to always be doing that.
It just depends. I think there are a lot of races that have a need for infantry, but like, I mean, I don't think I built any infantry besides the one that I started with.
No, Extra doesn't have a need for infantry, but you did have a need of lucky objectives, which you got in spades.
But again, we talked about the objectives really lining up for me, and I'm not going to say that they did not, because they totally did. But the more I think about it, the more I look at Extra and just realize that this is a race that can get a lot
of
done.
Objectives. Yeah. No, I agree. My point being, if you had any bad luck, if you had gotten any objectives that weren't in your favor, it's very difficult for Extra to branch out and expand that reach unless their neighbor is SAR, who has abandoned their pie slice. Like,
right.
If your two neighbors had been Nalu and Mentak, and you needed to go outside of your pie slice to get something, would have been a very, very different game.
I think it just depends. It depends on how far outside. Because anything, as far as I'm concerned, anything that is within Extra's PDS network is basically theirs. Right. Even if it belongs to another player, it's pretty hard to imagine a player being able to withstand a round of PDS fire, full round with maybe Graviton, and then like next round, like another activation, including another round of PDS fire with the ships moving in.
The trick here,
the fact that Extra can shoot so many shots at other people's ships without even having to risk their own is insane.
For those of you who didn't watch the game, basically Hunter and I both had to go to systems adjacent to Mechatol Rex that were also adjacent to each other. Hunter went to his very fast and got a really good PDS network set up and got Deep Space Cannon really fast. And I was next to it with my primary Starball, and Hunter was just like, Matt, what are you going to give me to not just keep firing at you? And the first time he did it, it was going to happen right then, or it wasn't, and so I had to give him 4 trade goods because it's all I had. And then he was like, don't worry, I won't do this again. But I knew that he would, because why wouldn't he? It's so cheap. So I immediately had to just flee so that I wouldn't risk every round having my Starball threatened without him having to commit anything but a single command counter.
I mean, if you can hurt someone with no risk to yourself, there's no reason not to do it. And
exactly.
And also, as a player on the other side of that, you can't let yourself stay in a situation where someone can hurt you without being hurt themselves.
The feeling I had was I am completely helpless here. I am being held over a barrel, and the worst thing I could do is leave myself open to this sort of position again. It will ruin me to just keep having this conversation come up.
Right.
About Matt's point that if you had a different objective that would have been harder to claim if it weren't SAR, the final point that you needed was ships next to his home system.
Oh yeah.
And that was just
wide open.
That was
because I was SAR.
That was the clinching part.
If you had to do that to me, that would have been much more difficult for you.
Of course. But I mean, I think that there were a lot of options I had on the table that I never had to do, and I feel like when you guys are talking about it like this, you're making it sound almost like
it was a low chance of that happening.
It was very easy. It was a very easy game, I'll say that, for me as Extra. But I also feel like I didn't have to push. I didn't have to use a lot of my abilities. So what I'm trying to say is that I feel like just the takeaway is that Extra is a very good race, because if I had to be more aggressive to accomplish objectives, I think I would have been successful in a lot of ways. I mean, I think if I had turned on you at some point with the PDS network that I had set up, I would have taken at least that planet the system that was next to us. I don't know if I would have succeeded in going all the way to your home system, but I don't know exactly what objectives we're talking about. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I would not have been able to get next to your home system without some pretty much some devilry, basically.
Alex, how did you feel about Mentac? How did the Mentac game go?
I felt good about Mentac. It was my first time playing Mentac, and I felt super powerful within 3 rounds.
Yeah.
So
you also had a yellow skip, and you got mirror computing round 3.
So yeah, what I did was that first 2 rounds I took trade. Hunter and I arranged an agreement where I gave him my promissory note, which meant that I couldn't steal from him unless he attacked me. He would get rid of that, and then I traded him my 2 commodities for his 4.
Yeah, and it's worth noting Hunter was the only 4 commodity race at the board. So, and they were neighbors. So it's like another, from my perspective, just another kind of like wonderful circumstance for them that they both capitalized on. I'm not diminishing the fact that you guys did good play. It's that opportunity was there, and you both went, yeah, we have to seize that opportunity and use it.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
I was somewhat inspired by a listener and fellow Discord person that I played with on TTS, David S. Knorr. He had this idea. He was playing Arborek and I was playing Hakan, and he just kept trying to get me to essentially get as much money as I would have gotten if I traded with the entire table, but just make it something between the two of us. And I was inspired by that because and that's why I was inspired to be like, hey, so I'll give you 4 for your 2, because the idea was that I probably can't stop you from getting a lot of money anyways,
right.
So I might as well limit the amount of money that the other players are getting. Right. That was my idea.
I even used that on you. Like the time you took trade, you were willing to make a couple deals, and I was like, please just single me out. I will make you the better deal.
I honestly don't have a very good argument against doing that type of play. If someone
think that's how you should trade. If trade gets played, 2 people should trade, and that should always be.
Well, how I tried to counter that. I knew you were upset about this when I did it. When I took trade the second time, you wanted that deal to continue, but I'm Mentac. I'm not going to be stealing from you. Right. So I opened up trade to 2 people across from me.
That was smart.
So that I could start getting a little bit more.
Right.
And then as far as tech goes, first round I got Neural, which was amazing.
Yep.
And then second round yellow skip to salvage operations. Third round mirror computing. Ridiculous. And it was out of control.
Yeah. I as extra did not research Neural or Sarwayne. So take it, you guys. Just listen to that. Although, to be fair, because of the wackadoodle game we were playing, I did end up with a wonderful hand of action cards.
Yeah, we had other extenuating circumstances.
Oh, yeah. I researched Neural, and then Hunter got all my action cards.
It was awesome.
He got my great hand that I cultivated.
That one thing in and of itself should completely invalidate my victory. The fact that I was... that's true. Which, I mean... We at the beginning said we were going to do these weird audience agendas, and that no one should be too this should all be taken with a grain of salt. Yeah, basically.
I want to say too that game just tech wise was absolutely crazy. I mean, mirror computing for Mentac on round 3, nullification field on round,
and the other one, the
instinct training.
Instinct training. I got both their racials, which are they're really good, and they're cheap. They're cheap. They're not like nullification field is 2 yellow. Requires 2 yellow. Instinct training requires 1 green. I had a green skip and a yellow skip,
and you start with a yellow.
It was just easy.
Yeah. And then also Nalu to my left got Neuroglaive in round 3.
Everybody got their tech that they needed, really.
Yeah, except for me. I mean, actually, no. I got the tech I would have wanted to get. I just was never able to put it to use. It was a sad display of SAR due to a lot of bad luck. Yeah. So okay, Hunter. How did you find your victory with the extra?
So basically, a lot of the obviously a lot of the passive VPs public-wise are really easily claimed by extra. You set up a solid slice. I was not aggressive.
What'd you take round 1?
I took warfare.
Yeah. So not aggressive, but like establishing your space early.
You want to get your slice established and throw down those PDS as fast as possible.
Hunter did warfare, then construction, and it ruined my game. I mean, it was very good.
I mean, I'll say this: I feel like taking what I learned by taking Warfare round 1, I wanted to do it because I wanted to get to Barrack and Lerda 4 as soon as possible.
Because of the map. The map was weird, and this is like an extraneous circumstance.
Right. Well, I think this might apply to regular play as well, because what I'm going to say is it felt like SAR not having Warfare round 1 set you back around.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
yeah.
I didn't see, like, I always see SAR take that, like, you're like round 2 or 3, and you look over and they have all these trade goods, and you're just like, man, that's such a good race. But I didn't have that moment this time. I didn't look over and see, like, you with this crazy pile of trade goods super early. I just feel like what I learned is that the SAR dependence on Warfare round 1 is high and heavy.
Yeah, you took Warfare. I was going second, but I did not know what to pick. Like, it was a very difficult decision of, like, if I'm not getting Warfare, what am I doing as the SAR? Like, what can I even... And my the way my pie slice was structured, it was like there was very few things I was going to be able to take round 1. Like, it made it really tricky to play as SAR.
It's just another one of those races where, like, we've talked about this with Ghost, we've talked about this with Winnu, where you can kind of, if you're their neighbor, you can, if you're actually looking at them and being like, all right, I'm going to play against them, I feel like you can get it done. Yeah. Like, you can, they have holes that you can be exploited, right, basically.
If I were to summarize this game to like come up with a play of the week, I would have 2 plays of the weeks, and the first one will be you getting those 3 PDS down very fast, and then immediately threatening me, saying, give me money or I will just fire open shots at you.
Dude, yeah, Extra can extort like nobody's business.
Yeah, because you're not going to sacrifice. The difference, people say Yin should try to extort, but it's like, well, I'm going to be sacrificing ships to do that. Maybe even twice as many as a normal faction. Ghosts should extort people because they can get anywhere. Extra can extort people because they're their neighbors. Right. Just like I'm sitting next to you, I get to extort you.
Right.
And it's ridiculous. And the other play would be the relationship the two of you had. Mentak and Extra with this crazy deal of just like you two had control of basically all the money for at least 2 rounds, and then a lot of the game as well. I mean, most of the money was exclusively on you two. You guys always had trade goods.
I think that might have been maybe an outlier Mentak game too, because not only did I have mirror computing and all those trade goods, I had Airnam, Mir, and Torcan.
Oh wow!
Which was just 3 command counters I was going to get
all
for free every round.
I'm coming more and more around to resources don't matter if you can get. The meta game will support you in having a good trade game. Like, if you just play trade a lot, that's your money, and if your pie slice is all influence, that's your command counters. Though that combo so far has felt better than everything else.
Right.
Any other possible iteration. It's just like, if I can get a bunch of command counters and then get all my money through trade, I'm set.
Yeah, because like you were saying, I mean, when Imperials played, you need to have a strategy. When politics is played, if you need a good hand of action cards.
Right.
There's a lot of strategies you actually need to do throughout the game that aren't just I don't know,
tech.
Like tech or warfare.
Right.
See, I was actually spending on I was doing the secondary of politics quite often as Extra, and I would say
because you didn't have neural motivator.
Right. So that's what I would say though, is that if you don't want to get neural motivator, don't stress on it. If there are other things that you need to get it. Just know that it's going to cost you, that the secondary of politics is important and you shouldn't skip it every time.
Yeah.
The idea is you need to have a full hand of action cards by the mid game.
I didn't get neural motivator, but I did politics like all but 1 time.
Yeah.
And I felt pretty all right with that decision. Like, it was like, if I don't have time to get neural motivator, which plenty of people would argue, make time, like, get it, it's so good. But my thing was, if I had gotten neural motivator, I was doing politics enough that, like, taking politics for myself even, that is enough action cards to have neural motivator would mean I would have to then start discarding action cards. Like, I would be getting too many and have more than 7, and I found myself like, I better just use one of these action cards right now so that when I draw, I'm not gonna go over my hand limit. I never wanted to exceed my hand limit and then have to discard a card. I would rather just play something at maybe not the most optimal moment, you know. A lot of times you want to save action cards until the very, very end. That's the power of a Sarl, is like, I can just hold it all and see what happens. Every other faction has to kind of consider, like, I should probably use this now, because otherwise I'm just going to lose it when my hand limit gets exceeded. And I think that's a big deal.
One thing that I did that I had fun with was having mirror computing and selling a sabotage for 2 trade goods. It was...
Oh, right. Not selling the card to somebody, but just saying, I will sabotage this for you if you give me money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a fun little thing to do with them.
God, Mentac is the way you played Mentac was really cool. It actually,
I'm not asking for a lot from you, but it's going to be a lot for me.
Right.
And I can just keep banking it.
It was an interesting game because I think with different players, you may have had less success, maybe. Because some people talk about the Mentac as people really, really hate them and will do a lot to hold them back. I mean, you were stealing from people constantly, all the time, always stealing, and some boards really do not let that slide, but it felt like we were all kind of just like, well, okay, here's the Mentax, and that's, I guess, okay.
I think that it was a testament to the power of Promise of Protection, though, because that situation that you just described was impossible in that game, because he never stole from me. So at the worst, even if everybody was like, I'm sick of the Mentac doing this, the highest value trade partner at the table was always going to be down for a trade with you because I had Promise of Protection. I had nothing to lose. I think you should give Promise of Protection to a
commodity value.
To a high commodity.
And it was kind of like there's already nothing you can do about it.
Right.
It's just one trade good. It's just every time it's just one more trade good that I'm getting. Right. Mm-hmm. I already had 8, you know?
And for the Mentac to give up Promise of Protection, I would have when we first did it, I probably said, I don't really like the idea of giving this out. But the more I've, even in my own Mentac games, opted to not steal from people sometimes, just as a kind of meta, hey, come on, no, don't worry. Or more importantly, the opportunities where you're like, I will trade exclusively with you and I won't steal from you, yada, yada. If you have someone that you know you're going to be able to do that with consistently, giving them that Promise of Protection guarantees you're going to get those trades every single opportunity. Whereas if you don't do the Promise of Protection, they might be like, I don't think I care that you're making that offer to me right now. I would rather go elsewhere. If the card is out there, then it's done, written in stone.
I'll say this, though, that that Promise of Protection trade combo worked as long as I was the one playing trade.
Yeah.
As soon as it was Hunter that was playing trade, he didn't want to trade with me.
I think that's just true of how I think the trade strategy card makes you you set the table for how it's going to work.
And when Hunter would take trade, you would already have a ton of trade goods, and so it's why would I give him four more, which equals 8 more trade goods? Why would I do that?
Right. I'm just saying, as Mentac, don't expect your partner to want to help you out all the time.
Definitely.
Expect it to backfire.
All right, well, I feel like that's a pretty good summation of how that game went. We have a real episode for you, though, today. Yeah. We're going to do... I don't know if I call this a round table or not, but we are going to... this is a Galactic Council episode. We've been doing one of these a month so far, which is what we said we would do, so we're actually holding true to our Patreon promise. But we are going to run through some agendas today, and by some I mean, I don't know, we're going to try to do all of them. We're going to try to do this fairly fast, but there's going to be some that we get hung up on. Here are the goals of this agenda discussion, and this is kind of some of the things that the Galactic Council said they wanted to see out of a conversation about agendas in Twilight Imperium. First off, when do you want to keep an agenda in play? Okay, this is gonna shake up the board in this way. So a lot of the way we're gonna be evaluating these agendas is, if I'm in the lead, is this an agenda I would want? Versus if I'm in last place, is this the agenda I need to maybe shake things up enough to save me or whatever? Additionally, the even bigger focus was people wanting to know which factions care about which agendas. A lot of this is going to be super situational, but we will try to point out when certain agendas are just obviously good or bad for a particular faction. And then the last thing is a little bit of discussion about when you play politics, how you want to think about the 2 agendas you're looking at. The main idea being there are some agendas where it is almost always better if you can slip it on the second position under something else. There are agendas where it's I would love it if some people have already burned some of their writers and their votes before we get to this really juicy agenda, and I have the information going into it. Those kinds of discussions. So we're going to basically read all the agendas if we can. We'll see how long that lasts. But there's going to be a lot we skip to, because there's a lot of agendas that are just yep, been there, done that. We know, we already told that story. But the idea being, we'll try to evaluate all of those criteria with all these agendas. So you guys ready to do this?
Yeah, where do we want to start?
I think the speaker gets to read the agenda.
Oh, okay. So let's go ahead and roll for speaker.
They love it when we roll on this podcast. That's like their favorite thing. That was the most popular episode. Is the flagship episode?
Yeah, here, let me get my dice.
All right.
Alex,
I'm gonna roll a d20.
All right, I'm gonna roll a d4. Alex, what do you want?
Here,
you get the
roll
one.
a D8.
I rolled an 18.
Okay, I rolled a 2.
No.
I rolled an ant.
All right, so Alex is the speaker.
Yeah.
If you'll read the first...
No, I'll read the agenda.
All right.
I have them sitting here over by me. That was fun. That was really great, guys. Thanks for joining us on Dice Time with Matt and Hunter and Alex.
Yeah, the Tower of Dice. Thank you for joining us on the Tower of Dice.
I'm Sam Healy, and my opinions about Twilight Imperium are wrong.
Oh.
Shots fired.
Gauntlet thrown. You're going to cut that out, right?
No way.
Oh, the Tower of Dice is coming for us. All right, let's read that first agenda.
Let's kind of work our way, I think, into the crazier, more interesting stuff. I think we can knock a bunch of stuff out pretty quickly.
Right.
So I've got these organized by like directives versus laws, and then by like voting style. So in case you're not as like well versed in exactly how agendas function, because I know a lot of players, there's one person who has the rule book and they know how to do things, and then everyone else just kind of like, okay, yeah, let's get through these. So directives are one-time events that happen after the agenda is revealed. When you resolve it, it's done, that happens. Laws are the ones that stay in play throughout the entire course of the game. Mm-hmm. So let's do a directive. Judicial abolishment. When this agenda is revealed, if there are no laws in play, there's a lot of these, right? Things that affect other laws.
Right.
This one, you elect a law and you discard it from play. This is a pretty nothing burger.
Right.
Half the time you don't do anything with it.
Oh, I've seen it come out so many times, and there's no laws in place, so it doesn't. Nothing happens.
It's kind of a function of the flaw of agendas in TI4. Mm-hmm. I'm very glad that we don't do any agenda phases until the Mechatol Rex token gets taken, because so often in TI3 you would get it a round one agenda, and it would just be like, this completely changes the whole game and kind of ruins everything.
Well, I have a game design suggestion, but I don't know that I want it to be on the show.
Let's do it. Let's go ahead. This is a round table.
We were talking about this, and I was thinking about cards like this, and like, how could we make them more interesting? Because it was a problem in TI3, it's a problem in TI4. So what if you just do it like public objectives? There's a stage 1 agenda deck, stage 2 agenda deck, stage 3 agenda deck.
Was it you that talked about this in the Discord? Because this has been a conversation that's been happening in the Discord about like there should be pre-Mechatol agendas and post-Mechatol agendas.
That's
exactly
really
what
I've not.
That is a conversation that's starting to happen, and I agree that this should be a stage 2.
Yeah, there should be no things that affect laws until laws are already in play.
Yeah.
There's judicial abolishment and there's miscount disclosed. Miscount disclosed, you would revote on the law, and judicial abolishment, you completely get rid of it. Man, I never care about these, to be totally honest, because a lot of times laws that actually come into effect are usually the ones where like, nobody really cared about it in the first place. Other laws that people really care about don't tend to stay. Like the against happens if it's a for and against, and so then it doesn't stay. There's lots of things like that. So I don't know. I consider these two kind of dead agendas.
I have a question actually for both of you before we move on. How many times in Twilight Imperium have you seen a law actually get passed that is a detriment to a player that those would be really spicy to do? Like how many times have you seen like the law of the land really hurt one individual player or a couple players where they would actively be like, we want to get rid of that law?
I can't think of a single instance where that has been important. The only theoretical time I could think of something is one of the minister laws gets in play, and it's with the faction that I'm especially afraid of. So let's say Minister of War, the ability to pull a command counter and then do another action, that's probably one of the most powerful ministers. If my neighbor has that ability, I suddenly do want to get rid of that. But it's also worth noting there is an action card that lets you repeal laws as well, and like that is the easier way to do that.
Provided it doesn't get sabotaged.
Sure. So that's the trade-off there. But then you're providing also that the vote's going to go in your favor on these other repeal law.
Right.
I think a cool potential way that these could work is if you get a really you play politics, you get a really juicy law that's going to really hurt someone, make sure that it goes through somehow, I don't know, and then that's the next one, and then you have saved all your votes, and you can say, I will get rid of this for you if I get something for it.
Right, right. I agree with that. I agree. These laws
a lot of the time, it just doesn't pan out that way.
Yeah. These are definitely best positioned underneath a first law. I wouldn't put one of these on the top of the deck.
No.
Some people try to put stuff like this, like these nothing burger laws. People like to put those on the top of the deck so that it's like a burner law. Like, we will do one less agenda because there's such a boring nothingness.
That's not how it reads.
No. I'm saying if there is a law, but just nobody cares about discarding it,
I see.
then these laws are like the ones that people put on top as a burner, so that less and that's the situation I would recommend these, is like, you're in the lead, the last thing you need is some crazy law to shake the game up, put this on top, because not only is it going to get rid of maybe some other law that is barely affecting you, but it's also keeping a second law from being read. Mm-hmm. And that feels pretty important. Let's move on. This is a big one. This is a law. Both of those were directives. This is a law, though, and it's probably one of the most famous laws because of how complicated things get. Classified document leaks. When this agenda is revealed, if there are no scored secret objectives, you discard it, yada, yada, yada. But you're going to elect a scored secret objective. The elected secret objective becomes a public objective, and you place it near the other public objectives in the common play area. Some kind of rulesy things about this one. If it gets repealed by one of these laws we just read, the people keep their points. Mm-hmm. But they do not count as secret objectives for those players, so you are still allowed to claim 3 secret objectives in addition to that. It gets actually kind of money, and I'm even afraid to say anything too sure because I forget kind of where all things have fallen, because the question then comes up, the owner of that secret objective that got elected, when it becomes a secret objective again, what happens if I've already scored a 3rd secret objective? And I'm pretty sure Dane ruled, like, you will have a 4th scored secret objective, because there was a period in which it was a public objective.
That makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, and especially with the confines of the rules being that, like, when something gets repealed or, like, when something goes away, you don't lose the points for it in almost any situation, unless the card explicitly says you lose the point. So, yeah, really, really interesting, dicey agenda.
It's a part of the, in general, just kind of attitude of TI4 being that when you come to weird forks in the road like that, the answer is most of the time yes instead of no.
Right.
So it is, you get 4 rather than no. We're going to take a point away from you.
3 and only 3.
Right. I like that attitude. I think that's the right attitude for. We've actually that situation you described. I'm starting to feel now that maybe you weren't in the game with me, but we've seen that. We've actually seen.
No, I've been in a couple games with it, and then it gets repealed. Yeah,
and then it gets repealed.
It's
like
the game
that.
where we talked about that being a possibility, and then someone in the game was like, "I just want to see that. I have that card. I want to see that happen. I just want." That sounds fun to me.
Yeah,
it was David S. Knorr, I believe.
Oh yeah.
That said that.
I got rules.
What do you guys think about, like, timing of this one?
Oh, I actually don't like it. I wanted to say that too. Yeah. I actually, if I had any control, I would not allow this to happen, because what I've seen happen with this particular law is everybody just elects a secret objective that would be really easy for them all to accomplish, and I'm never in favor of that. I'm never in favor of all the players getting a free point,
right?
Because I feel like it's not even from a sportsmanship. It's a strategic thing. I don't want people to get free easy points. And even if I will qualify for the one free easy point, I think it's in Twilight Imperium more strategically advantageous to make sure that people overall can't score than it is to let everyone score, including me.
Yeah. If I was speaker and I was in any kind of lead and I saw this, I would burn it.
No way.
I'd throw it on the bottom. Pretty much every time.
I mean, I'm saying even if I was in the herd or even in, like, towards the bottom, I would be like, nope.
Also,
the last time this came up for me, I was Muad and I was behind, and I just needed whatever I could get, and it was like a godsend.
Yeah, it's a good thing for people who are behind, because, like, anything you can do to get more points on the board is good. I'll say, like, faction-wise, I hate this for Isarl, Sar. Yeah. People who, like, capitalize on the fact that they are typically better at getting secret objectives. You should hate this, right? I mean, it's the last thing you need is for something that you were able to capitalize on, and that, like, I got lucky that only I got this. For PDS as Xcha, you don't need everyone else to be able to get 4 PDS. You're the PDS
Right.
race. Like, let that be your thing. And yeah, I feel like this one should get burned more often. I think people like to put it on top because it's like dicey and crazy, and a lot of times people just like fun agendas. But this is one of those fun agendas that it's kind of like, ooh, it's a little too scary and can do more damage.
If you've got to go to work in a couple hours, maybe put it on top.
I think what I would like to see with this, when I've seen it come up a couple times, I would like to see the players decide to elect an objective that shuts out a couple players. Like I've always it's always a very peaceful law. It's always
definitely.
something that we can all do.
Who's
And,
in the lead? What could they easily do? Okay, don't vote for that. Under no
Right,
circumstances
that's
vote for that secret
But
objective.
even still,
It's hard to do.
If they pick something that a majority of the players can do, I bet almost all of them can do it.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
The anomaly one comes
Right.
to mind. Like, yeah.
So we got 4 here in a row, and they're everybody's favorite research team: propulsion, cybernetic, biotic warfare. This is the elect a type of. They're 3 of them are elect industrial planets, and 1 is elect hazardous. That's a weird balancing thing to me. But it's the ones where you attach the card to the planet, and the owner of this planet, when they research technology, they may exhaust the card, not the planet, but the card itself, to ignore a blue, yellow, green, or red prerequisite, depending on the law.
I have a question, Matt. Does this mean that they count towards that public objective for technology specialty planets?
No, they are not technology specialties. They're just a law that is attached to a thing. And more importantly, there's almost never a timing in which this comes up and someone is like, oh, just what I needed. That never I've never seen this come out and it's like, oh, I needed a blue skip and I have the planet and they're going to definitely vote for me to get it because if someone needs it, they're the last person that are going to get voted to get it.
So if we're going off your house rule thing, this is a stage 1.
Yeah, this would be great early.
Yeah.
One of these came up yesterday, and the possibility it was a yellow skip, and one of the options was to give it to me. I had absolutely no use for it. I'd already gone down yellow.
Yep, and that's almost always the case. That's what I see
It was
almost
like
every time.
round 4.
Right.
It needs to be round 1 or 2 if it's going to be useful.
Yeah.
The problem with this law is Mechatol hasn't been taken till round 2 or 3.
Yeah.
In our game, 3 or 4.
No, it was 3.
It was 3. It's not taken till round 3, so people have already had 3 rounds of buying tech. By round 4, when they're able to start using this planet, yeah, they have gone down the road they're going to go down. You don't go deep into red late game. If you need to go deep into red, you are rushing for it. And beyond that, most people are staying shallow tech for objectives, or you start getting upgrades. So I don't know, maybe these are useful to get upgrades. You're able to get an upgrade you weren't previously able to get. If you were going blue and yellow and suddenly got the one that requires a green prerequisite, oh cool, I can get advanced fighters now. I guess that's sort of useful, but then it depends on the race if they even care about having advanced fighters. It seems like a bunk to me.
I think that the only way it could have been cool, I think we kind of nailed down the flaw, is that by the nature of Mechatol having to be taken, it's going to come up too late almost in every situation. Yep. But if it did, the reason I asked that question at the beginning is because I wish it did, obviously, is actually turn the planet into a technology specialty
now it's
planet.
A point.
Meaning that it is useful for that one public objective that, I feel like people struggle with a lot.
Absolutely.
It's one of
the
the
hardest
only
public objective.
Yeah, it's one of the only ones that only a couple people will get to score in the game. Almost every public objective, by the end, everybody scored them all.
Yeah. Every time one of these comes up, this is my reaction. Can we just go ahead and start voting right now?
Yeah.
Because I don't care. There's almost no chance I'm even voting on this. Whether it's the first or second vote, my reaction is always, well, I literally am tuning this out. I don't care. Let's make this go because we got 8 more hours to play or whatever.
That's true. Let's
do that right now. So I've got a bunch more of these elect planets. Let's kind of run through. Let's compare all of these elect planets to those research teams, right? So elect a hazardous planet. This is core mining. Elect a hazardous planet. Attach this card to the elected planet's card, then destroy an infantry on the planet, but the resource value of this planet is increased by 2. Lose an infantry, gain 2 resources, and if it's got a space dock there, obviously that's also boosting your production value by 2.
Same criticism, though. Would be cool early, would make a difference early.
Right.
Not in
round 5,
game.
in round 6, you're building one more time ever.
Yeah. It's not going to. How do you feel?
I feel the same way. I think if these came up earlier, especially if those were tech specialties. They could really drastically shift how you're expanding and establishing borders early.
You care about the traits of those planets even more outside of even the planet trait objective. It's like, oh, I want to get the stuff that gives me more resource value. Here's another one: terraforming initiative, hazardous planet. The influence value and resource and influence value of the planet are increased by 1. It's like you're giving me things that are only... It's the Sarween tools problem. I need something that is useful multiple times throughout the entire game. If I get this in the second to last round, I'm using it once or twice. So, okay, this agenda was worth 2 trade goods. Whoop-de-dee.
Whoop-de-dee.
Here's another. This is the inverse. Senate Sanctuary Cultural Planet. The influence value of the planet is increased by 2. Probably even less useful than the production one.
Right.
So these last 2, though, this is where things, I think, get...
These are the crazy ones.
These get kicked up a notch. Demilitarized zone. Elect a cultural planet. Attach this to the planet. Then destroy all units on the planet. So this one gets targeted on people who have set up forward bases.
Extra. Look out.
Yeah. And then also, players' units cannot land, be produced, or placed on this planet. This is like one of my favorite agendas, to be totally frank, because there's... I remember a game... This is when you and I were neighbors. This happened, and it was... I had Zobat, but you had taken control of it from me, and then this came up, and you and I had been just like fighting and couldn't come to an agreement on what to do with Zobat, and I was actually more willing to just be like, let's demilitarize Zobat so the 2 of us can actually draw a line in the sand.
Right.
And this demilitarized zone did exactly that. It ended Hunter and I's war, pretty much, for like at least a couple rounds.
Right.
Like, it cost me 3 resources, and that sucked, but I was happy to not have to sacrifice a bunch of units to keep up with battling Hunter anymore.
Right.
So yes, this destroys everything on a planet, but it locks it down for you. You will keep it forever. It's your planet now, and nothing can ever change that unless this gets repealed. It's my favorite elect planet law by far.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Any factions really care about this one? Important to them? Extra hates it, like you said.
Right. You don't... the fact that it says units, the fact that it's going to affect, that it's going to be space docks, that it's going to be PDS, that it's going to be your ground forces, I think...
What you lose is probably more than what you gain.
I mean, anyone who really needs that forward base that wants a space dock and a PDS there so that they can pump units into the center of the board...
Well, Mentak could potentially be like that. They lean PDS a lot. Right. Ghosts is almost always going to have the forward base.
I think this one has a weird relationship with Ghosts. There's a problem of which way is this one going to go. The thing I want to say about this card that I think would be great is, as Ghosts, I would love to go where I'm not supposed to be, get a planet, and then be able to demilitarize it. And it's just like, look at what I sniped.
Yeah. Right.
The problem with that, though, is that's never going to happen.
Right.
No one's ever, unless you somehow gained an awesome influence boost above everybody, where you're going to be able to control this vote. You're never gonna make that happen. This is almost always going to target a planet with a space dock on it,
right?
You know,
because
who
of what
doesn't
it does.
Care about this at all. SAR.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
SAR.
Arborek doesn't care.
Yep.
Why would they care?
Yeah.
It's just one planet.
It's a planet they don't have to worry about anymore. Yeah, I think there are lots of interesting situations that come up with this card.
Yeah.
To be totally honest, it greatly depends on this. This is one. If I'm speaker, I probably put second. I don't want everyone voting with all of their political might in this one.
That's true.
If I'm speaker, I need to hold on to my influence, not vote in the first agenda, and control the demilitarized
I honestly
zone.
wish it was more hardcore. I wish it was elect any planet.
Right, it's only cultural planets, so
Yeah.
that's interesting. Some people's pie slices are just like, I don't care. You can tune me out, whatever.
Right.
These are my favorite kind of agendas, though. The ones that as soon as it comes up, it's just like, oh my god. even if it's not going to target me, it's like, that's just brutal.
Yeah, someone's getting hurt. Speaking of someone's getting hurt, Holy Planet of Ixth. Elect a cultural planet. This is a law. Attach this card to a planet. The planet's owner gains a victory point, but units on this planet can't use production. That's fine. I got a victory point. I'm pretty pleased as punch with that. And when a player gains control of the planet, he gains 1 victory point. When a player loses control of this planet, they lose a victory point. A planet is now an artifact from TI3. It has a point attached to it. I love it so much.
I love it.
It's why I loved Artifacts in TI3. I love the board getting shaken up like this. I do think most often with this one, the board is able to agree on a planet that is like in a convenient spot to make this kind of genuinely useful.
Right.
We screwed this up in a recent game. We completely just we gave our friend Doug the win because we just didn't pay attention to like what would happen with this card. But it's certainly it's one of the few agendas that truly changes the scope of the game.
Yeah.
There are other agendas in here that give someone a victory point, and if you attack them, you do something. But this one is like, no. We just made a planet that is, in some ways, as valuable as Mechatol Rex. We changed the center of the board.
Right.
And that can be a big deal.
It's worth noting that the two Elect Planet ones that we liked are both cultural planets. Like,
Yeah, cultural planets have some power
Yeah.
to them. Much more so than industrial planets. Because all the industrial
sure.
planets are the tech things, and you're never going to get an agenda that works.
And what? There's only one Elect Hazardous Planet, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hazardous planets, not so great.
Well, the hazardous planets were the production-wise.
One is hazardous, one is industrial. Though.
Yeah.
All the hazardous ones were planets that now get boosted resources or influence.
Right.
And that's
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So the hazardous ones are just worth they're the most money.
they're already
They're
good
the most
planets.
money planets.
Yeah. Let's do some more elect planets, but these are directives. These are one-time effects as opposed to these laws that stay
Right.
in play. Colonial redistribution. Elect a non-home planet other than Mechatol Rex. Destroy each unit on the planet. Then the player who controls that planet chooses one player with the fewest victory points. That player may place an infantry from his reinforcements on the elected planet. So we all agree to pull someone off a planet, but that person gets to choose who replaces them.
Yeah.
This one, more often than not, we had an interesting situation with this in yesterday's game, but more often than not, I see the planet that gets targeted already belonging to the player in last place, and it becomes nothing. It's, we killed a ground force. He had 2 ground forces there. We're targeting that person's planet. They're going to put 1 ground force back. It doesn't do anything.
There's a way out. And it's funny how often the board, like the table will decide to, in a situation like that, just take the way out. And that's why any agenda that's like that, it belongs in that second slot. You need it to be that not everybody has full voting power in order to make that effective. Because if they do, they are going to do that.
I would say in general, people treat the agenda phase as crazy things can happen, and we are all looking to make crazy things not happen.
You're just trying to
unless it's
prevent.
like the last round of the game and there's one person racing for victory. That's the only time you actually want crazy things to happen.
Right.
And for most of the game, it's like, can we just mitigate disaster?
It's
here?
preventative.
Yeah.
It's like real world politics.
Yeah. Compensated disarmament. Elect any planet. Destroy each ground force on the elected planet. For each unit that was destroyed, the player who controls that planet gains 1 trade good. Can I say this? I feel like this comes up almost every single
So
game.
often.
And especially if Soul is in the game.
Yeah.
It's always when Soul's in a game, this one comes up.
But I can never tell if it's good or bad.
Yeah.
Like, I'm always like, all right, yeah, let's do it. It'll get... Wait, but then we'll give him some money. Like, I don't know.
Here's the weird chance of this thing is it always tends to come up in like the last round, and if it's the last round, then it really is a debate because it's like, am I about to get jumped on? Do I need those infantry there? If this is like the round 4 thing, and one person has a bunch of infantry on one planet, well, that's never going to happen because, like, of course I want the trade goods in that situation.
Yeah.
If it's round 4 and I can get 4 trade goods just for losing 4 infantry, yeah, I'll take the money because I'm going to replace those. I'm going to make that become 8 dudes. Like, why wouldn't I want to do that?
Right.
That's so good. I think this is another tricky one because I think it's another easy one to stop.
Mitigate. Yeah.
You just pick a planet with no ground forces.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we're just gonna give that guy 1 trade good, and he doesn't even seem upset about it. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It's like, that's another one. Put it second. It needs to go when people aren't at full voting strength, because if they're at full voting strength, they'll just mitigate it.
Yeah, it's easy to stop.
Every time I've been in the situation to vote on this one, I can't decide if we're hurting or helping the player that we're thinking about doing it to.
Right. Can I say one thing real quick?
Yeah.
I find that a lot of times people are at full voting strength on the second agenda because riders are being played all the time.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times riders get played, or people are pretty smart about knowing if an agenda doesn't matter. It's not like someone's going to sacrifice 2 votes if it doesn't matter. So you see most people abstain. Like if the agenda matters to one person, they'll use all their votes, and then you kind of move on. So it's a small point. I think it's still worth pointing out because sometimes it is important, but generally speaking, yeah, there's almost no way to stop it from becoming a boring outcome.
Let's do a cool one.
So I did want to point out that was all of the elect planet agendas. There was also that elect scored secret objective, but for all of those, can I just point out writers equal bad?
No writers. We've yet to read a good writer agenda.
If you haven't already kind of like mathed this out, you should never do an elect planet writer because unless it's like
defensive.
You absolutely know people will target that planet and you need to block it. I wouldn't use your best writers. I feel like almost any writer will convince people not to do the thing, but like don't put your Imperial writer on an elect planet because everyone will be like, okay, cool, easy decision not to do it. Unless literally it is a situation of
if it's clutch.
It's the last round of the game, or it's about to go into the last round of the game. You need to hold that planet for one turn. You're going to have Imperial, something like that where it's like, no, I desperately need it.
You're going to get the point either way.
Right. And so that's the only situation I would use a writer on an elect planet.
Yeah.
So let's do some elect players. Here's two directives. Archived secret. The elected player draws a secret objective.
Okay.
Great. I mean, honestly, I like these a lot more than others because at least these aren't like the inherent balance of the game is at stake. This is just like, okay, let's vote on kind of like a thing to have. This is the only time I feel like the mechanics of how influence in the game are supposed to work. This is the only time I feel like it actually works, where it's like me having more influence means I should get more stuff out of the agenda phase.
Right.
This is that one situation where it's like most people are just going to be like, well, Alex has 16 influence. We're not going to be able to outvote him. Should we really spend all of our votes to outvote Alex and give someone else? Are we going to coordinate an effort to give someone else a secret objective, or are we just going to let Alex spend like 6 votes and get it?
Yeah,
it's worth a command counter. That's all that's worth.
Yeah, it's worth 1 command counter.
Yeah,
I think it's like
maybe late game.
I'm happy as the speaker. If I took politics and I've got decent influence, I don't even have to have the most. If I'm just not starving for influence, I'll put that on top. Right on top.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to get it. Mm-hmm. If I have like 2 influence, throw it on the bottom of the deck. Right. Don't let anybody just get that.
Yeah,
just
don't give away a secret objective.
Yeah. If you're in a place of position, definitely do it. Also, I mean, I guess special recommendation of if it's early and you're a Sarl or Ghost or Sar or someone who desperately wants to see more secret objectives, yeah, I mean, sure, definitely try to get it to yourself, but it's kind of a hard one to like make sure you will get it.
Yeah.
So the other elect player directive, one-time use thing, is public execution. The elected player discards all of his action cards. If he has the speaker token, he gives it to the player on his left. The elected player cannot vote on any agendas during the agenda phase. That part of it is really weird. The can't vote on any agendas during this agenda phase, because if it's the second agenda, that
doesn't
never
matter.
even happens,
Right.
so who cares? I've never seen this card come up, and the speaker doesn't get chosen.
Right. The speaker gets chosen, or I think the only other potential would be Isarl.
Right. Discard all Isarl's action cards. Isarl certainly doesn't want this one to come up, especially when they are speaker.
There was a game that Connor let himself get voted
because he had the action card to deflect
because he had confusing legal text and
Right.
he threw it on you. I believe that this is how it actually happened. We had a really, really long debate about it because both Connor and Matt were in the lead, and we decided Connor was playing Soul. He was doing really, really well. We ended up putting on him. He played confusing legal text and put it on Matt.
The way this one kind of mistakenly can get used is, and I what I remember happening is that Connor was going to let someone get voted, and he wanted to make themselves. There's a difference between I got voted and I now push this onto somebody else versus I feel like what sometimes people want to see confusing legal text do, which is, okay, Alex got voted, I play confusing legal text so that I can get voted. That's not how that works, and that kind of breaks things. And that's what makes confusing legal text hard to play. Is
Makes
like,
it confusing.
Yeah, how do you assure
this
that
is like the perfect situation
This is the
for
perfect situation.
confusing legal text.
if you hold on to it so that when this comes out in your speaker, you don't get crushed. I do think the only situation you wouldn't vote on the speaker for this one is if the person who's about to win would be giving the speaker token. Like if the person that the speaker token passes to
is powerful.
Is the leader.
Right.
Okay, of course you don't want to shift the speaker token to them.
Right.
But man, this is the perfect example of like the problem that Ghost has, the problem Winu has, where if someone can cheaply just crush one person, they will do it, because why not? Why not really hurt someone? So if you have the speaker token and this comes up, it's like you don't have much of an argument to stand on, because everyone can very cheaply ruin your round. But what is brilliant but also never works with this is you choose to give yourself the speaker token before you look at the agendas. If you were able to if you didn't take the speaker token and you gave it to the person on your right, and then this was in there, you throw that baby right on top, because you're going to now get the speaker token. And whatever deal, like, we talked about this with the ghosts, right? The ghosts, round 1, I'm going to offer you speaker token so that you'll put my Krios IFF somewhere. Here you go, buddy, to my right. If you can control it, you can't. This is impossible to actually get any control over.
Yeah.
But there is a situation where you can give that to someone, get something for it. Hey, I'll give you speaker token for 6 trade goods. Then the agenda phase comes up. I get speaker token back. You lose all your action cards. And I earned 6 trade goods out of the deal. I mean, that is devastating.
My point, though, of course, being that if you are the speaker, you have to throw that on the bottom.
Because you will get voted.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There's no question. Honestly, because of the way all of that works, confusing legal text should never be read, except for at random. Like, it's the random draw from the top. But you should never see public execution be put on top. That is insane. All right, we got some more elect player laws. We got a lot of these. We're gonna try to
we'll go through them faster.
We'll go through them faster. Let's start with this. There's all the ministers, right? We have a bunch of ministers. There are 7 ministers. There's Minister of Peace, War, Industry, Policy, Sciences, Exploration, and Commerce. Each of these ministers, you elect a player, and we're going to give them a recurring ability throughout the entire game. Mm-hmm. So I say we run through basically all of these as fast as possible and compare them back to back. Minister of Peace, after a player activates a system that contains one or more of a different player's units, the owner of this card may discard this card, immediately end the active player's turn.
I really like this one.
I remember this one being kind of confusing too. I feel like at one point we had the notion that it was you cannot be involved in the thing, like it's 2 completely different players' turns, but I think that got ruled to be incorrect. It's just as long as you're not, you can't do it to yourself, but you can do it to someone targeting you.
Right.
Which I think the alternative would be more fun. As long as you aren't involved at all, you can call off a fight.
Right, because then it's just something you can bargain. Yeah. Like you can be like, pay me and I will end this.
Right. You said these are recurring. These are one-time use.
Well, some of them are recurring. There are some that are infinite abilities. There will be ones that say discard this card. And so this one is a law that stays in play, and you get to choose when you do it. You will discard it. So this is a one-time use.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do love this one too. I mean, it is nullification field.
Yeah, essentially. It's awesome.
Yeah. It's a voted nullification field. If you give this to an extra...
Well, you shouldn't give it to an extra.
Yeah, you should never give
give this to an extra.
They're already the Minister of Peace, and you're going to make them an unstoppable, formidable stonewall. Yeah.
Right. There's no... Yeah, don't do that.
Minister of War, the owner of this card may discard this card after performing an action to remove one of his command counters from the game board and return it to his reinforcements. Then he may perform 1 additional action. Hugely powerful. Maybe the most powerful minister. You can do 2 actions back to back and do the war. It is an equivalent of doing an action, playing warfare, and having fleet logistics all in one. Doing 3 actions. It is insane. If you also have fleet logistics, this is like
insane,
completely off the wall.
Oh my god, yeah,
game maker.
Yeah,
I mean,
imagine if you had fleet logistics and warfare and that, and you're just like, how many turns is that? You could do, well, it's 3 turns. Could you do 4?
No, you couldn't do 4 because pulling the warfare token would be a thing in itself. Like playing warfare would be a thing in itself. But you could have done an action, pull it, do another action, then play warfare to pull it again, and then on your next turn move that fleet the 3rd time that round. Just crazy. Who wants this? Sarl.
Sar would love it.
Sar would love it. Honestly, anybody wants this because even same reason like warfare is pretty good. Like it also just opens up your production abilities.
Mm-hmm.
This one, if you're the Minister of War, but let's say everyone's coming at you. Okay, I build in my home system, activate Minister of War, pull the command counter, move all of my ships out, build in my home system again.
Right.
Like
It's good for those plays that you need to make for your secrets.
Yeah.
But you need for not anyone to catch on to the fact that you're about to do a secret.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Arborek it would be cool with because whenever you have like with Sar and Arborek, their activation in and of itself is a lot of different things that happen in that space.
Yeah.
Any race that has that going on for them is going to get a lot out of it.
I'll say this one. I feel like this is a pretty hard one to control. These superpowers agendas, they always go to the person in last place.
Right. That's
So
true.
by the end of the game, very rarely are people actually making game-winning plays with this, solely because the person who gets it is not in a position to make game-winning plays.
Right.
I think that's what happens more often than not. I would love to someone please send us a play of the week where you use Minister of War. I just want to hear about it. I just want to hear what cool things you did with Minister of War.
Yeah, please.
Minister of Industry, this is the worst one. We just did the best one. This is the worst one because of unit limitations. When the owner of this card places a space stock in a system, his units in that system may use their production abilities. So you got to use construction, and then you get to build. That's great. That's cool, but depends on if you're gonna get that other space stock. It incentivizes you to get another space stock on the board.
Would this apply to? Yeah. Okay. So
doing the secondary works too.
Oh, right. But also, I was gonna say this could be cool for an L1.
Definitely. Yeah, because you're replacing it with your own.
Oh, but they could already do that.
You're already doing that.
They could
so it
already
doesn't
do
matter.
that, L1.
That's
could.
why it doesn't matter.
Yeah, okay. So
Blizzix could care less about this one.
Yeah.
It's not great.
Nah, it's not great.
It can be useful, and especially, again, in the situation where this goes to the person in, like, dead last, I think they're usually happy to have it, because one of the things they're probably in dead last with is, like, their fleets kind of suck right now, and, like, the ability to get one more production in there is great. The thing is, I mean, it's not like it's granting you any free money. It's just like, no, you have to spend the money that you have, and so timing it out is also tricky. Like,
right.
Okay, I'm going to build that space stock. Is that even where I want my units? Is that where I need... It's a tough one to use,
yeah,
I will say. Minister of Policy, at the end of the status phase, the owner of this card draws one extra action card.
Nice.
This is a continuous effect. So, Neuromotivator.
Right.
It is Neuromotivator. Double Neuromotivator. You give this to a Sarl, they get to draw 4 action cards.
Don't give it to a Sarl.
Don't give it to a Sarl.
Ever. Don't ever do that.
Hey, I don't know. If I'm playing a Sarl, maybe give it to me.
No, don't.
I might want it.
Hey, actually, if I'm playing a Sarl, give it to me.
No. When I'm playing a Sarl, maybe give it to me.
Hey, you should give it to me. Hey, I'm playing a Sarl. Give it to me.
Hey, Alex, when you're playing a Sarl, do you want the Minister of Policy?
Yeah, give it to me.
Okay.
Oh, but we should give it to Alex.
We should give it to Alex. He made a really strong
He's playing a Sarl.
We've got the Minister.
Oh, actually, I wanted to say one thing. That to me, that one, the Minister of Policy, because that can be really. That's a really that's actually a pretty cool minister ability, I would say.
Yeah.
However, if it's late game, probably ain't got
Kinda
time
useless.
for that.
Yeah,
right.
useless.
It should be a stage 1.
Yep,
If
there's
we're
a
going to
stage-
do the stage 1
right.
and stage 2s,
Right.
that should be a stage
Hunter's
1.
into his new homebrew variant.
I mean, I'm into Alex's home. It was Alex's idea.
It was my idea. It was a completely original idea.
Alex trademarked it.
Minister of Sciences, the owner of this card, resolves the primary or secondary ability of the technology strategy card. When they do this, they do not need to spend resources to research that technology. This is like a Jolnar Light.
Right.
Just you get free tech when you get tech.
This is the story of a tech.
Keep going. No. No. Keep going. Who drowned the neural and tried to have more. I don't know. All right, we're moving on. What were you going to say, Alex?
I mean, I don't know. It's definitely a stage 1 because it's more powerful.
Right,
Yeah,
it's a stage 1, yeah.
But yeah, two free tech when you play tech.
When you play the primary.
That's
yeah.
insane.
Yeah. Definitely better for the tech holder than it is for people who are trying to do the secondary.
I mean, still, it's nice. Just pay 1 command counter.
Yeah.
Is it research or get?
It's when you do the...
When you research.
Okay.
When you
It's-
research, you do
right.
not pay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's another one that it's like, it's going to go to the person who tech isn't helping them anymore anyways.
Yeah.
You know?
Also, late game, it might, like, I always find, like, towards the end of the game, most of the time, the players all have the tech that they want, and they're not even wanting
This
for
one is
anything
probably harder to, like, get the table to agree on someone. So I will say that this one's probably one that just, like, whoever decided to commit the most for themselves will get it. It's
More
like,
contentious.
I'll throw 6 at myself, and everyone else is like, well, I'm not going to do 7 for myself. And I don't see a need to give it to anybody else. The only situation, like, you block someone is they're 1 tech away or 2 tech away from a stage 2 objective they get. You know, it's like, it's just like, you have to prevent that. So, okay, we won't obviously vote for them, but basically anybody else can
If
get
they're
it.
1 tech away, they're getting it.
They're getting it.
You're already getting
doomed.
it. They have the money.
Yeah. Minister of Commerce, after the owner of this card replenishes commodity, he gains 1 trade good for each player that is his neighbor. This one came up in our game. Never saw it get used.
Yeah.
I think
It's
it's
a little too conditional.
a little too conditional, especially with our play group and how kind of we do the thing where we shoehorn trade almost every time.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's actually, in our group, kind of hard to replenish commodities. I mean, if you are in a position, this is a decent one, like if you have a lot of neighbors, this is now when I would start to consider using the secondary of trade.
Yeah.
I don't need to be replenished for free. I will now, it's worth it. I mean, I'm going to get maybe 4 trade goods plus refreshing my commodities.
That's something that I've been wanting to say on mic for a minute. I think we're getting to a place with the meta, at least in our personal group, where I am more and more starting to consider actually spending the command counter
Insert
necessary
yourself into the
to
conversation.
get my commodities.
Yeah, we act like, it feels like we've acted like for so long that if you don't get picked, you don't get to trade. And it's like, no.
Well, early rounds, it kind
It costs a lot. No, round 1, you're never going to do it round 1. And I'm not
Mid-game, though?
suggesting that. But mid-game, round 4, if you have a pie slice like you had where you're getting a bunch of extra command counters, I might throw one if I know I'm going to get a deal out of it. I would not spend it unless you know who you're going to trade with beforehand.
If you took leadership round 1 and you don't need to spend those command counters on a public objective, do it.
You could upset someone pretty bad.
If you've got someone like Hunter who's going to want to have all the trade goods for himself.
Yeah, I'm the only one who wants to have the trade goods for himself. That's true. That's part of just me.
Just Hunter.
And then the last minister is the SAR ability. When the owner of this card gains control of the planet, he gains 1 trade good.
I see this one the most often.
Yeah,
It's
I see it the most often. And
it
I
all
also
the
see
time.
it as one should be stage 1. Because stage 2, it's completely useless. Because how many planets are people really taking at the end of the game? This is one of those ones where I roll my eyes and say, I don't care.
Yeah.
Give it to anybody.
It almost always comes up too late where it's like, well, they already took all the ding-dong
Yeah, okay, this is going to be
planets
worth 2 trade goods.
for whenever somebody takes something.
Yeah, I just do not care.
Yeah, I hope you guys take that stage 1, stage 2 thing we're saying is just more of a, like, we mean it's better if it comes up early versus late.
Yeah. And for some of them, early means there is no such thing.
Impossibly early.
Yeah. You're not doing it round 1 or 2, so it's not going to happen. Because I refuse to accept a world where someone takes Mechatol Rex on round 1.
Yeah.
I don't live in that reality.
Yeah. How you do that?
With sacrificing
do
everything that you have. All right, let's move
How
on.
do that?
We got these elect players. Are you guys ready? Let's do some laws, some elect player laws.
There's a lot of elect players.
This is where stuff gets a little juicy. We've got, actually this one's not the juicy one, so I'm going to read it first. Committee formation. The elected player gains this card before players vote on an agenda that requires a player to be elected. The owner of this card may discard this card to choose another player to be elected. Players do not vote on this agenda. This is a good stage 1 one. Let me say that.
It's confusing legal text. The
agenda.
The agenda. Fine. I don't know. I don't have a lot to say about it, honestly.
I love having it. I mean, yeah. What's nice about this one is the uses of it are not like always immediately clear. A lot of people are easily able to just be like, I guess I don't really care. And then the next agenda comes up and it's Shard of the Throne, and you're like, I wish I'd gotten that stinking it. Like, you know, the times come up when this is like a really useful.
If you're playing with a bunch of new
have.
players, I would definitely be like, hey, give this to me. It's not a big deal. There's not really any cool elect player
You would just
stuff. That'd be like a
manipulate
good.
Really
Yeah.
mean
Oh,
thing
I
to
forgot.
do.
We never recommended that in the podcast. You should manipulate the people that you're playing with. Also, give me committee information. It's fine. Give it to me.
Let's do Imperial Arbiter, elect a player. At the end of the strategy phase, the owner of this card may discard this card to swap one of his strategy cards with the other player's strategy card. This is, say it for me, Hunter.
Quantum Data Hub node.
Thank you. I can't ever say it on the first try. So, this is hugely powerful.
Oh, yeah. It rules.
Especially because
It's like win you the game.
And very specifically, there's no bad timing for this one to come out. This is because if you're in the agenda phase, you're already about to start a new round, and getting this will, even if it's round 7, like this coming up in round 7 agenda phase means whoever gets this will probably win the game. Because they're going to get whatever strategy card they want, and what do you do against that?
If you get it early, though, I would encourage you to save it as long as possible.
You hold it until it wins you the game.
Yeah. Until you feel like you're on the last round. Yeah. That's when you should use it.
I mean, Winu wants this.
We're talking about a lot of stuff.
This is a wild card. This is a Galactic Council episode. They go all over the place. Winu wants this. Winu wants this bad.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Soul wants this bad. They took Mechatol. They just would love to score one
Anybody who's
more.
got Mechatol wants it real bad.
Of course. All right, let's do some more of these crazy elect players. I want to do this one's fun. Prophecy of Ixth. Every time this comes up, I think it's the other Ixth.
Yeah,
agenda.
we all have that.
So
happens
every time someone goes Prophecy of Ixth, and I audibly go, "Oh no!" And then they read the ability, and I go, "Oh wait, this is the dumb one." The dumb one is the owner of this card applies +1 to the result of his fighter's combat rolls. When the owner of this card uses production, he discards this card unless he produces 2 or more fighters. Great for Nalu, but Nalu's never going to get it. No one would ever in their right mind give this to Nalu.
Yeah, unless you're dumb.
Alex, are you dumb? Would you give this to Nalu?
No, but if I'm Nalu, please give it to me.
Let's give it to Alex. Let's give it to Alex.
We are getting to a point in this episode where we're making the same arguments over and over again.
There's something about these elect player cards that if you happen to be playing that faction and this card comes up, you should do, even if you're not going to get it, make everyone pay for you to not get it.
That's an important point we haven't touched on yet. You are the threat of getting it, and you should make that threat obvious. Like, so even if you're
accept you're probably not going to get it.
Right, but be the second person to vote. Okay, 11 votes for me, and then the rest of the table has to sacrifice votes for the next. This is a great one to have on top. Things like this are great ones to have on top.
You know, if you happen to be, this is so situational, but if you happen to be that faction, you happen to play politics and get that one, put it on top. Exactly. Because you're voting last. Yep. So everyone will spend their votes, and then hopefully you got a juicier thing on bottom.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. That's the perfect situation. It's never going to happen.
Definitely. The Crown of Thanlos. That sounds familiar. Is there some sort of character that is almost who is Thanlos?
Is it a Game of Thrones thing?
No.
No, I think that is a character in Fortnite, actually.
Oh, you're right. It's that Fortnite guy.
Yeah, that Fortnite guy.
It's the purple buddy.
Yeah, what? Has anyone noticed this purple guy in Fortnite? Have you guys been playing Fortnite? Because there's this,
we
purple
haven't,
guy.
and we're just, taking a random stab at
I've
a thing we've
noticed
heard.
There's this purple guy, and he's friends with Mickey Mouse.
He's friends with the mouse.
So there's this purple guy, friend of the mouse in some way. Is he from an old Mickey cartoon? The purple.
It's the Steamboat from Steamboat Willie.
Oh, so the Steamboat becomes a cosmic deity of sorts.
What does he do? I'll tell you what the Steamboat does.
He kills half of humanity.
Sorry,
and half of all of the mouse's properties. And you're sitting there and you're like, wait. What? And then you look around and the kids are crying.
Yeah. All right. So the Crown of the Purple Steamboat The elected player gains this card during each combat round. The owner of this card may re-roll any number of his dice. He must destroy each of his units that did not produce a hit with its re-roll. I will never use this ability. I will not risk it. The same reason I choose to never go through gravity rifts. It is only good with War Sons, and even then the risk is too high.
Yeah.
It's there's no way. I'm not...
It would be a good thing to get early and never use.
Right.
And then use when you need it.
Right. The one time it is the clutch play, but boy howdy. This one is interesting because I don't think anybody actively wants this.
Yeah.
This one you might get for 1 vote.
Here, let me...
Hey, if no one wants it, I will take it. Because it may be useful.
It might come up.
So crazy.
It may be round 7, and I'm trying to bombard the last of someone's ground forces, and I don't care if those dreadnoughts are going to be destroyed.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Well, it's during a combat round. It's very exclusively during a combat round.
Okay,
It's not
never mind.
during bombardment. What's so funny about this one is it feels like one of our audience agenda. Like, it feels like a thing that our crazy fans would have written of like, what if this wild things happen? And the result is, well, no one's going to do the wild thing, so
Right.
oh well. Yeah, that one's just too crazy to ever...
I think if we're saying on our stage 1, stage 2s, I think this would be a really funny stage 1
'Cause then they
like
just
really
have it
early.
all game.
You have it, and the whole time you're just like, I guess I could do this at some point. It's crazy though. It would be really fun if this was the first one and it got given to a player, and then at the end of the game, this was the thing.
Everyone
that they had
forgot
to
they
consider.
had it,
Right?
And it's like, if
I'm going to spin my crown now.
my crown of purple steamboat. All right. Now for the crown of Amphidia. There are 2 more that we're doing here, and these are the 2 like Mama Bubba.
Oh, mama.
Elect player. The elected player gains.
Well, wait, you didn't read the title. This is the Crown of Amphidia.
The crown of Amphidia. Elect player. The elected player gains this card and 1 victory point.
That's what the point of the game is.
A player gains this card and 1 victory point after he gains control of a planet in the home system of a card's owner. Then the previous owner of this card loses 1 victory point. Demonstrably worse than the Shard of the Throne. The elected player gains 1 victory point. The player gains this card and 1 victory point when he wins a combat against the owner of this card. Then the previous owner loses 1 victory point. So 1, you have to lose a planet in your home system. The other one, you just have to lose a fight. It's weird.
I like both of them.
I love
I would love both of them to be in the same game all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want this to just be a thing that definitely happens every game. Yeah.
Shard of the Throne is weird because it's going to get buck wild. Like,
Yeah.
it's
And
gonna,
that's the thing. I always want Twilight Imperium to be buck wild.
yeah. Especially late game. I always feel like late game what happens is there are all these dominoes set up, and you don't always see them all come crashing down. In fact, you don't see it a whole lot. I feel like in the game that we played yesterday. Oh, I guess I can't really make a reference to this because I don't want to do any spoilers. I will in a non-specific way, in a vague way, I will say in the game that we streamed the other day, there were a lot of things that could have come crashing down, and then it never really happened, and we never really saw fire in the galaxy.
Even with our audience agendas that we intentionally made to be crazy, we got some of our like least impact. Can I say this about Shard of the Throne? I would like to do a stream someday where we do that before the start of round 1.
Where we do what?
We vote on Shard of the Throne with no influence.
Ooh.
And we just... everyone gets 1 vote, and we vote on someone to get Shard of the Throne, and it's in the whole game.
Twilight Imperium Deathmatch.
Yeah, it's just... Exactly. It's Twilight Imperium Deathmatch. There's just this point that is always floating out there, and like... Because that's the thing. I was just thinking, I don't feel like I've ever seen the Shard of the Throne come up early to where it like really causes a bloodbath.
Like,
it like always happens late.
Where it would actually give someone the win a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's always like if whoever we give this to, it might determine absolute victory. And I would rather have it all game be this consideration that everyone is constantly dealing with.
The first game I ever played of 4th edition, it came up when everyone was around 5.
Wow. See,
And
that's what I
it
want.
was
Yeah, that's good.
It was
That's a
great.
good time.
It was great.
Have we ever talked about that time that Connor played confusing legal text and he didn't know how it worked?
Was that on Shard of the Throne?
Which was
It
that?
was a victory point one. It probably was Shard of the Throne.
No, wait. That's the whole thing. Is it wasn't
an
Shard of the
elect
Throne.
player, it was something else.
Yeah, I don't remember which one it was. We'll figure it out. We'll get to it.
Well, it wasn't. The law wasn't exclusively for a victory point. It was giving someone something that would allow them to have that victory point, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Who cares? Let's do unconventional measures. We're getting into the for and againsts now, and now it's worth noting we've done all these other agendas. Now you may start using your writers. This is the part of the show where writers are relevant.
Again, I mean, you could use riders on elect players, but it's more of a defensive tactic rather than you will actually get the reward that you're looking to get.
Right. Unconventional measures. 4. Each player that voted for draws 2 action cards.
Yum.
Against, each player that voted for discards all of his action cards. I'll say this much about this agenda and agendas like it. It is an automatic repeat. As in, I'm going to have to read this twice to everybody because people thought they were listening to a normal agenda, and then I finish reading it and they go, wait, what? Say that again. I'm sorry. You got to do that. And so let's do it again for you listening at home. Unconventional measures. Directive 4. Each player that voted for draws 2 action cards. So if the 4 passes, everyone who voted for gains 2 action cards. So if the whole group just agrees, everyone put 1 vote for, we will all get 2 action cards. Mm-hmm. Against, each player that voted for discards all of his action cards. So if the against if 5 of us all put in 1 vote for,
and then
the speaker goes 6 votes against, everyone loses all action cards.
That's like, I want that to happen. Except the speaker.
Except the speaker, right. The person who voted. So this one gets really tricky, and I love it. I love that what usually ends up happening is like 2 or 3 people put a bunch of votes in for, but they were like late. Like the first person abstains because they're just like, I don't even want to go there.
Yeah.
The second person is like, okay, 6 votes for, and then the next person is like 4 votes against, and it's like every turn. This is when I love that the agenda phase happens sequentially.
Right, the order matters so much.
Yeah. I mean, this one would be crazy to happen simultaneous. If you did a simultaneous vote on this, that is terrifying.
Dude, you would be crazy if you're the first vote to just be like 4. Right. I'm in it.
Yeah,
like,
unless you're putting everything in. But like, are you going to really do all of your votes for 2 action cards?
Then it would be so juicy to like just against the person, even if it costs a bunch of votes, just to make one person discard their whole hand is like really worth it.
Juicy.
Yeah. Love it.
All right. Seat of an Empire. This is it. This is the one, actually. Seat of an Empire is the Connor goof 'em up.
Okay.
So, Seat of an Empire, directive.
Oh, yeah.
4, the player with the most victory points gains 1 victory point. Pretty much exclusively, if you have 9 victory points and 4 happens, you will win. Against, the player with the fewest victory points gains 1 victory point. I'll say this much. I don't feel like Seat of an Empire should ever have the 4 happen. It just shouldn't, because the board should recognize that it's not good to give the person in the lead a victory point.
I mean, this is like the classic, you played politics, you want everyone to expend their votes on the first one.
Right.
If you can pull it off, then you want this one on the bottom.
Yeah.
Because you want to be able to control, I'm just going to get this point right.
Right. If you get a crazy, juicy agenda alongside this one, you put the crazy, juicy one on top and like make it seem like it's do or die for everyone to do that one, and then you have Seat of an Empire in your back pocket.
Send us a play of the week where somebody successfully got the 4 to pass for themselves.
Like, here, okay, I'm going to do a play of the week real quick.
All right.
All right. Isarl is at, 9 points. And we have a friend named Connor, and he's at the table. And everyone realizes that if we vote for, Isarl will win the game. So everyone is voting against, and then when it comes to Connor's turn, he decides that he wants to vote 100 votes for, which will just give them the game. I freak the hell out live on camera to the world so everyone can see how salty of a little baby I can be. Mm-hmm. And then we finish the agenda, and I'm like, why did you do that, Connor? Why did you do that? And Connor goes, confusing legal text on an agenda that is a for or against, not an elect player, and also not the way it works. If he had just voted against, he would have gained a victory point.
Right.
In his mind, he was blocking the ability, because someone put an Imperial Rider on this. This was the point. Someone put an Imperial Rider against.
I always forget about that.
And so Connor didn't want anyone to get a point, but he didn't understand how cards work.
He got confused by the legal text.
And so goes the story of how we will never forgive Connor.
We will never, ever let it go.
Alex, you played lots of games with Connor. Is there ever a reason to forgive Connor for anything?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just get out. We're done. This is over.
There was a time before Twilight Imperium.
What?
When we were playing Risk.
Whoa.
Whoa, wait.
What?
Let's allow it.
There was a time... Okay, go ahead.
We were playing... This was before we had the light of Twilight Imperium in our lives.
I'm trying to imagine that world, and it's just so hard.
The great dark of Risk and Axis and Allies.
Yeah, okay, go ahead. Go ahead and tell me about this Risk.
Long ago, before times.
We were playing Risk. We were several hours into a game. I was winning. There was a... we were playing at a friend's house who... They ran a daycare out of their house. and there was a box of children's toys next to the table. Connor is losing the game. He picks up a plastic dinosaur and makes it rampage all over the wrist board.
No, Connor. And you said you would forgive him?
I forgave him.
Wow.
Then I started playing Twilight Imperium with him.
Oh my god. Swords to Plowshares. Directive. 4. Each player destroys half of his infantry on each planet he controls rounded up, then each player gains trade goods equal to the number of infantry that were destroyed. This is just like that other agenda from earlier. Against, each player places 1 infantry from his reinforcements on each planet he controls. Pretty tough one. I feel like against happens more often than not.
Yeah.
It's the safe bet. Soul,
It's another one where I can't decide, though, if it hurts or not.
Yeah, especially with Soul. Soul is just like, dude, either way.
Yeah.
Come on. Like, I abstain because just whatever. Do it.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not even sure. The problem with that one is I'm not sure what factions they were meaning to target with that idea.
Yeah.
That's the thing I don't get.
Right. Well, to that end, because I feel like there's not much to cover there, I do have an agenda here that we know.
Does
which
target,
faction.
yeah.
So this one is called Wormhole Research. Directive. 4. Each player who has 1 or more ships in a system that contains a wormhole, not an alpha, not a beta, any wormhole.
That includes
may research 1 technology, then destroy all ships in systems that contain an alpha or beta.
Oh, okay.
But Ghost is going to get a tech out of this.
Regardless,
No
every
matter
time.
what. Against, each player that voted against removes a command counter from his command sheet and returns it to reinforcements. This one sucks because there's no reason to vote against.
No,
At all.
there's no reason.
You're going to lose a command counter if you want this one to not pass. So this one is, hey, Ghosts, do you want to lose a bunch of ships or do you want to lose a command counter?
Or
I guess command counter.
if I don't know, I mean, there is a possibility that there are so many people in wormholes with the
Maybe.
ghosts that like you got so many.
But
people
the thing
in-
is, when there's a bunch of people in wormholes, now no one is losing that much.
yeah, that's true. It's really spread out. It's just a couple.
But most
ships.
of the time, it's Ghosts has something in almost every wormhole, and it's like, okay, hey, do we want to turn Ghosts off? Do we want to make them not exist anymore in this game?
Yeah.
I mean, I hate this agenda.
Yeah, it's a bummer. It came up one time. The first time you played Ghost, or was it the first time?
It was the first time I played Ghosts.
The first time you played
and
Ghost,
it came
this
up on the first agenda.
It was crazy. It was just, I mean, you were done after that.
Yep.
Like it completely
game over.
destroyed your game.
I would almost go as far to say, we were going to say we would maybe try to do this. If it ever came to a point where we decided we wanted to start culling the agenda deck, we wanted to start pulling some stuff out just to make it a spicier deck as a whole, this would be one of my first ones to go. At the very least, if Ghost is in the game, pull this out, because that's just straight up unfair.
Yeah, there's literally no way for the Ghost to... there's no contingency you could possibly have that would
Unless you
fix
have
this.
more votes than the entire board combined.
No way.
Because no one is... This is another situation where the entire table will go, oh, we can completely destroy Ghosts right now, and it will cost us nothing.
And so that's the other thing that's a problem with it, too, is that it's... If you're the Ghost, obviously, and you take politics and you see it, you want to burn it, of course, duh. If you are any player that is not the Ghost and you see that... You are pretty much always going to be like, yep, we're doing that.
Right on top.
So there's a lot of players that are not the Ghosts. There's only, just quick math real quick, there's only 1 player that's playing Ghosts, if there is any.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's how it works mathed out. This is, sorry to get so technical with you guys. So that means there are 5 players that aren't the Ghosts. If you're keeping up. So if any of them take politics and see this, like that's a pretty high chance, actually, that this agenda is going to end up in play. Because that's a lot of eyes that if they see it are going to say yes.
I'm having war flashbacks, and
Everyone has 2 eyeballs, so
all right. Let's do this other victory point one. I adore this one. Mutiny. 4. Each player that voted
is so
for
crazy.
gains a victory point. Against, each player that voted for loses a victory point.
This might be my favorite.
Another
actually.
situation where just like the votes get crazy. This is one of those ones where I go. Like in TI3 we had this rule where the speaker token, I can't remember if this was actually based on a real rule or if we just made this up, but we had the rule of when the speaker bangs the gavel, everyone shuts up and we vote. Nothing else gets said.
I wish we still did it that way.
It made things go faster.
Yeah.
It was helpful for that point.
It's
We
part
got
of
all
your
our talking out. I know.
Yeah.
Alex is going to
No,
buy it.
I brought this up recently, and I don't think that's actually a rule.
No,
but
I don't.
I've always played that way. Speaker calls a vote,
Right.
and that's it.
Right.
No
You were
more table
voting.
talk.
So
Table talk is over.
When it gets to your vote, you can't ask people what they're saying.
Right. So this would be the best agenda for that. And a lot of times it's how I feel about this agenda is like, we can't talk about this. We just have to see how the votes start to shake out. Like, there's nothing to say here. I mean, obviously, like, everyone would want to vote for, but then the second one person votes, like, one vote for, then it immediately becomes dicey. So when this one comes up, if we did the gavel thing, as the speaker, I would be like, okay, let's do the vetoes. Any vetoes? No. Any writers? No. Okay, vote now. Right now. Everyone shut up. There's no
table
talking.
talk.
Right.
No table
just
talk.
move on, because there are some agendas where it's just like, there's nothing to talk about. You just have to see what happens.
Yeah, and I want to go back to that rule. That I know it's a house rule, and we've been kind of trying to not do any house rules while we're doing the strategy guides. We're almost done with that, thank God. And I want to go back to part of the power of being the speaker is being able to end the table talk.
Here's why that doesn't work, though, to me, is because of the way trade works now, and the fact that the agenda
you have
phase,
to be able to
you got to be
do
able to
transactions.
negotiate stuff. So you got to be able to do transactions. So you need to, when mutiny comes up, if you're the fourth person to vote, and now it's like, oh, now we're seeing how this is going to shake out, and I need to start swaying people. You need to be able to take.
What about this? I've got a compromise, and maybe you're having the exact same idea.
Let out.
Go ahead and do it.
Okay, well, first you need to buy a gavel. No, okay, so
A little squeaky gavel.
The speaker has the floor. When they call it to a vote, it's going to a vote. When it's your turn to vote, you can offer transactions. Other people do not get to talk. The speaker has the right to say, okay, let's get a move on. And maybe like if it gets to be too much, the speaker says like, okay, you're not voting, move on.
Yeah, moving outside of like when it is not your turn to vote, you speak when spoken to. Yeah, and that's it. If the current voter addresses you, then you may enact in some talk and do a transaction with them.
I have a question. If we did it that way, would those transactions be binding or non-binding?
Just the conversation itself, or
like let's say
transactions are binding if it is like vote for, and I will give you 2 trade goods. Yes, that is a binding.
Okay.
That is a binding transaction. A binding
right
deal.
now.
Yep.
Yeah. Right.
Incentive program directive 4: draw and reveal one stage, one public objective for the deck, and place it near the public objectives. Against, draw and reveal one stage, 2 public objective from the deck, and place it near the objectives. I've never seen I'm trying to remember actually which way. I've only seen one type of objective revealed from this, and I think it's the stage 1s.
Yeah, I've never seen a stage 2.
Because
people are scared.
People are afraid of someone getting the easy stage 2. And stage 1s, it's like, well, it's only 1 point. I think if this comes up early, people are even more like, don't get a stage 2 out there, because someone might be able to just like slam dunk it, and be like way
Come
ahead.
on and slam.
Okay.
On the contrary, I'd say get that stage 2 out.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I feel like it's actually better because less people are going to be able to do it. The problem with doing the stage 1 is you're going to reveal something that, especially at the point in the game where this gets revealed, that's probably an automatic point. So same to our secret objective, the law from earlier, it's the same argument. Like, don't give someone something that will just happen. Let's make it something they got to struggle for.
Yeah, for real.
I want one person to maybe get 2 points rather than everybody gets 1 point.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so new Constitution Directive. This is another affect old agendas, but this one is 4: discard all laws from play. At the start of the next strategy phase, each player exhausts each planet in his home system. Against, no effect. Womp, womp. In TI3, we almost exclusively, if an agenda said against, no effect,
delete.
We just straight up took it out of the deck because this is just so uninteresting. And I get that, like, that's probably okay from a design perspective, but it's just not fun, and I get so bored by these. But this one in particular, discarding all laws, I mean, I guess it's a big deal, like we talked about earlier. A lot of laws that end up passing don't tend to matter too much.
Yeah.
And this one affecting all of them does make it a bigger deal. Okay, we can wipe the slate clean, but that counter offer of you have to exhaust all planets in your home system, I feel like that keeps it from ever happening.
Right,
so,
right. It's like even I just can't imagine a game of Twilight Imperium where I'm like, oh, these laws are just really crushing me, so I got to get rid of them.
Right.
Against no effect, I feel like is going to happen more often than not.
Except for
this baby.
if you're doing the Ixian artifact. So let's start with the against. Against, no effect. Doesn't matter. The 4 is always going to happen every single time because people like to have fun. So the 4 is the speaker rolls 1 die. If the result is 6 to 10, each player may research 2 technologies. If the result is 1 to 5, destroy all units in Mechatol system, and each player with units and systems adjacent to Mechatol system destroy 3 of his units in each of those systems.
The best.
Even if I'm the person on Mechatol Rex, there's always a small part of me that's like, let's roll those dice.
Yeah, come on.
Even as the Winnu, like for the Winnu, it's sort of like, you know what? My game is already on the fence. Let's just like decide it right now. Let's decide if I have the rest of the game or not.
It reminds me of, if you guys ever played Munchkin, we played a lot of Munchkin in high school. There was a card called the Duck of Many Things that was just like, roll a die and this happens or this happens. Yeah. And they're not even like, they're not even really related. Like fiction, I'm not really sure what's happening. The Ixian artifact either grants us all technology or destroys everything.
It's the one ring to rule them all.
Yeah.
And we either let it get into the wrong hands or we I don't know.
No, it's like it's like an Ixian capsule that they have dug out of Mechatol Rex.
Like 2001: A Space Odyssey.
And they're like, maybe we shouldn't touch it. We don't know what it is.
We don't know where it's been.
But we're gonna touch it.
Yeah, we're touching it.
I want to touch it.
What does it do to us?
I want to touch you.
Hey,
I want to touch you, the artifact.
Let me touch the artifact now.
And Hunter's
I want to touch on the artifact.
Oh no, Hunter, you touched it and your arms reduced. Let's talk about arms reduction. Directive 4. Each player destroys all but 2 of his dreadnoughts and all but 4 of his cruisers. Against, at the start of the next strategy phase, each player exhausts each of his planets that have a technology specialty. I feel like there's always just enough people on the table that the 4 hurts, that like the table leans towards the 4.
I love it.
On this one.
Yeah.
This one sucks for Mentak. This one sucks for Lizix. This one sucks for Barony.
I was L1 and this hurt me.
Yeah.
And it sucked and I had to pretend that it didn't hurt me.
Right.
But it did.
The difference here is the other one where like at the against is you exhaust a planet. Well, that's a home planet on the other one, and home planets are typically worth lots of resources.
Yeah.
This is a technology specialty planet. Those are like a 1/3, a 1/1, like they are worthless planets. Mm-hmm. Everyone is like, oh, I don't really care about the against. So you have like 2 people on the board who are super willing to vote against, and it won't hurt them at all. But the rest of the board goes, yeah, but we can completely wipe out Mentak right now.
It's weird because the 4 hurts more in the late game, and the against hurts more in the early game. So it's like
just because it's a dollar you won't have. I mean, I guess.
It's like it's not. Set
I don't
up
think it
in
hurts
a way.
that much in the early game.
Well, I mean, it's a tech skip.
It's a tech skip. And then
For one round.
those are important. Those are important earlier. Though.
Sure.
Sure.
But
say that had come up yesterday. I would absolutely not have wanted that.
I would have been like,
no,
no
it would
way.
have been really bad.
I would have been 4 all the way, but 4 I probably wouldn't even have that much, so it wouldn't matter.
If you're a speaker, it's purely conditional of what units you have on the board, whether or not you put that on top. That one is just like so situational about it.
Yeah, we can't even recommend anything with that.
Economic equality, this one came up. Directive 4, each player returns all trade goods to the supply. Then each player gains 5 trade goods. Against, each player returns all of his trade goods to the supply. So in a game without Mentak, this is a fairly normal thing. Either everyone has 0 or everyone has 5 trade goods. And I would say it's a pretty much, you're going to see kind of even, totally depends on how many trade goods are on the board, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Hakan also.
Yeah, Hakan's going to be a big one with this.
They're going to want it, but my point though is Mentak in your game completely changes everything about
right,
this
because
card.
Mentak gets
is going to
some of those 5 trade goods.
When you gain 5 trade goods, that means you're gaining trade goods and now have in excess of 3, which means Mentak's going to steal 1. So more often than not, 4 people get 4 trade goods, Mentak gets 9, and 2 people get 5, or like 1 person gets 5.
One thing that's important to me to point out strategically for economic equality, especially with the Khan episode looming over my head, is that this is actually the only reason to not bank trade goods. Right. There isn't any other way for someone to get rid of all of your trade goods.
I always thought that there were more, and there were more
TI3.
There were more things that like hurt trade goods in TI3, but in TI4 you got pretty great odds that your trade goods are never going to get destroyed.
Your trade goods sitting on your sheet are safe to stay there, and you can stack them if you want, and that's fine. Yeah. The only two ways you can lose them is through economic equality or with Mentak taking that pillaging a little off the top.
Yeah. That all being said, I do love that agenda, except for when Mentak is in the game. I get very kind of just like annoyed at the decision we have to try to make now.
Right.
And I feel like even as a Mentak player, I mean, this happened to you, Alex. What did it feel like to be the Mentak when this agenda came up?
Well, the problem when it came up was I had 9 trade goods. So, and I had mirror computing. So if that went 4 and everyone lost all their trade goods, I was losing almost 20 resources. And
I mean if it went against. Against is where we would lose all of our...
Oh, sure. Yeah, sure. If it went against, I was losing everything. If it went 4, I was losing a trade good, and everyone else was gaining some. So it wasn't really the situation that you're talking about, but it really, really sucked. It
sucked
really
because
sucked.
We were actually even having a debate about it, and like in that situation, I don't know. It is such an interesting problem to be faced with.
Yeah.
Do we all gain some trade goods and affect Mentak basically not at all, do nothing to Mentak, but we all gain some trade goods?
Yeah.
Or do we ruin Mentak? Yeah, because none of us have trade goods, and we can either ruin Mentak or do nothing to Mentak and all stand to gain from it. And just like the fact that can happen when Mentak is in the game really muddies it up for me.
Yeah, but it's the one, apart from this one that destroys all our cruisers, it's the one that will ruin Mentak if they've banked their trade goods.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's
and
same with the con. I mean I'm for it. I'm for playing with it. It just sucked as Mentak.
Yeah.
All right. We've reached the last phase. All we have left are for and against laws. Those were all directives. We're clocking quite an episode here. So these are all things that will stay in effect if the for happens. And that's the important point to note with all of these upcoming laws. If against happens, it is a one-time effect and then it goes away.
Yeah.
So the for is the only thing in any of these that is a looming, lasting effect.
Yeah, lasting effect.
Fleet regulations. For, each player cannot have more than 4 tokens in his fleet pool. Against, each player places 1 command token from his reinforcements in his fleet pool. This one is most interesting when it comes up late game, because early game, it will be against 100% of the time.
Yeah.
No way it won't, because most people have not gotten more than 4.
Right, they would just like the extra
Everyone liked to
fleet
gain
pool.
1. But late game, you usually have like 1 or 2 players that it's like, oh my gosh, they're sitting with 8.
They would have to destroy so many ships.
Yeah. It's madness. The biggest thing I can think of with this card is Barony wants this agenda to happen.
For sure.
So badly, and you want
such
4,
a pro
you want it to
Barony.
get hit, and it's just like, cool, you mean I will always definitely have 2 more fleet than everybody else in the entire game? I love it. I mean, there's no reason Barony doesn't... if I'm Barony, maybe depending on the round, but like I might throw all my votes for this.
Oh, for sure.
Just make sure it happens, because like the lasting presence of how much better your fleets are going to be than everybody else.
Late game, you're unstoppable.
Yeah, it's so hard to do anything about
This hurts L1 so bad. Like, L1 is always the race, I feel like, that has to have a high fleet pool and puts so much importance on their fleets that, like, this is like, with L1 and Barony kind of being the, like, kind of Cain and Abel, like, both good at really similar things, but in slightly different ways. This is the thing that, like, oh, well, Barony wins.
Right.
Like, there's no hope for L1 in that.
Yeah. But again, that being said, it's almost always going to be against.
Yeah.
In the first 5 rounds of the game. It's pretty rare that it comes up and there's that one obvious play. Because sometimes, I mean, this happened in our last game, and I had a big fleet pool, and I still kept it from happening.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember all the context behind it, but it's just like the only time you definitely want to limit it is when the player in the lead is the one with the huge fleet supply.
I mean, I wanted 4, and I pushed for it, but I just couldn't get enough people on my side. The 2 of you actually were the ones that were going to be hurt by it,
right?
And I could not get enough.
Nobody else
points.
cared.
Yeah, they weren't really clicking into it. So they didn't want to do anything with it.
Homeland Defense Act. Law 4. Each player can have any number of PDS units on planets he controls. Against, each player destroys 1 PDS unit.
I always see against happen. I've seen this one several times, and it always goes against. It always just goes to, like, Because I feel like PDS has become like a specialty unit where like there's only ever going to be like 1 or 2 players that go heavy PDS.
Yep.
So then the rest of the board is just like, nah, let's just get rid of that.
Right. And usually, too, the thing is it affects the least people.
Yeah.
So many people on the board just won't have any PDS.
Right.
And they're just like... Because that's the big problem with it, too, is if I don't have any PDS...
The 4 doesn't help me at all.
Doesn't do anything for me, so it's like, why would I ever vote for if I can just, like, slow down X-Chaw or any, maybe make Jonar burn one of their PDS in their home system or something?
right.
Who knows? But, like, it's very hard to make the 4 happen here, I would say. Yeah, I don't know. Hunter, if you're X-Chaw and you play politics and you see this, what do you do?
Honestly, the 4 isn't worth it because the other thing, it's not even that
You
enticing.
want to spread out your PDS.
Yeah.
Having a bunch of PDS on one planet is only useful when it's your home system and people are going to come for it. But the better way to use PDS is to spread them out across your whole pie slice so that your entire pie slice is defended. So loading up PDSs on one planet isn't even good. So like almost every situation, you're just going to lose a PDS.
Yeah.
I almost don't think anyone should put this one on top. I mean, unless you are one of those completely non-PDS races, because you're kind of guaranteed to kill up.
Yeah,
PDS.
I think it's always going to go against. I don't think 4 is really going to happen because I think the people that want 4 to happen, it's not. It's like we were just saying, it's not good enough for the 4. So all that it is going to destroy a PDS.
A heavy dreadnought race would love to have this one hit the board because now their dreadnoughts are going to bombard a planet.
L1 would love to do that against and have someone
even though they can, even when they can assimilate a PDS, it's like I don't care.
Yeah,
I would rather invade a planet.
Yeah,
and
but
bombard.
assimilating PDS is like it's overrated. It's all about that space dog, baby.
Anti-intellectual revolution law 4. After a player researches a technology, he must destroy one of his non-fighter ships. At the start of the next strategy phase, each player chooses and exhausts one planet for each technology he owns. This one is my favorite of these versions.
It's well designed.
It's well designed
Very well
because
designed.
this one came up yesterday as well, and I mean the 4 isn't all good, and the against isn't all good or bad. It's like everything in it is a very kind of how are we
vetoed
supposed
this
to
one,
manage
didn't
this?
you?
I believe I vetoed this or it got quashed.
Yeah, it's a good one to get rid of because it's just like no one actually stands to gain here. Late game, the 4 is maybe a little bit more obvious because there's going to be a lot of people at the table who are kind of like, actually, you know what? I'm done getting tech, and I would love to prevent anyone else from getting tech. So it's useful in that regard. But the against, that's a devastating effect.
The situation yesterday was I believe I had the most tech.
Yeah,
except
you
for,
had a lot. You had
for
5.
L1, and I really did not want to exhaust those planets.
Yeah, that's 5 planets you have to exhaust. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a bunk round, basically.
Yeah, L1 had 4 tech and had 4 planets, and so it was like, L1 doesn't want that to happen because they lose everything. They will lose all of it. Like that's.
But we couldn't. The two of us couldn't outvote it. So and I had a veto. So
you kind of gotta get rid of that one.
Imagine how bad that is for like a Jolnar. Like there's probably no way late game
Jolnar
that Jolnar
Necro
doesn't get completely shut down by that.
Yeah, we haven't seen that happen, but that's a really good point, especially because Jolnar is probably doing fairly well. So that one comes up. You can ruin a round for Jolnar.
It just sucks because it's one of those times that you're hurting. Like it's always going to hurt everybody. That's the thing. There's not really a game where like nobody researched any tech.
Sure.
And they're just like whatever.
Yeah.
But like it's one of those things where it's like, all right, I'm going to hurt myself, but Jolnar is done this round. They got nothing.
Right.
Except for that, they still have 4 commodities. God, how many advantages does Jolnar?
Enforce, and that's so true. They're gonna get money anyways. Enforced travel ban 4. Alpha and beta wormholes have no effect during movement. Against, destroy each PDS in or adjacent to each system that contains a wormhole. That against covers a wide swath of land.
Yeah,
that's like the whole board. Almost everyone's going to destroy a PDS.
Yeah.
But this one's fun because
it's really good for
when Ghosts of Creus are in the game, you want this so badly because remember, on your race sheet it says you cannot lose the ability to go from alphas to betas and back. Alphas to alphas, alphas to betas, betas to betas. So what Enforced Travel Ban does is prevents everyone else at the table from using wormholes, and now ghosts get free range.
Yeah.
And it's really amazing.
It's also such a hard call because the against is probably going to affect so many different players that they are probably going to give it to the ghost. It's probably a situation where people are more often than not going to be like, all right, fine, close them.
Yeah.
I just can't lose my entire PDS network. If that's going to be the ghost player is going to be like, yeah, let's do
all
4.
votes for.
And then any PDS players are going to, so that's probably going to be at least half the table.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah. You're already done at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that agenda.
For Ghosts. It's
For
good.
Ghosts.
It's really good for
I mean, I'll say this much, like, Ghosts deserves it.
Yeah.
Because of how bad that other one and how many other terrible things can happen, I'm so glad an agenda exists that's just kind of like, let's give them a leg up.
that there's at least a pro-Ghost
There
agenda.
needs to be a Mechatol Rex one that does the same. All the Mechatol Rex agendas are like, do something terrible to Mechatol Rex. And there should be one that's like, hey, Winnu, let's give you a break, please.
I believe in 3rd edition there was the same thing, and it prevented them from using the wormhole.
It may have. I don't remember. That may have been a
I don't think they had that clause before
Yeah, I don't
saying
remember.
like you can't. Maybe
That
I'm
may have
wrong.
been the fix to Ghosts, but I don't explicitly remember. I didn't play Ghosts very often,
Yeah, me neither.
so I don't know. And also, there was like 4 times as many agendas. So
In
for
3rd
one
edition
agenda,
too, I think ghosts couldn't. If you controlled one end of a wormhole,
you couldn't go through it.
Yeah.
Nobody else could go through it. That was like the thing.
It was really weird.
Especially because they introduced Malice, the Wormhole Nexus, and so if Ghosts got there, they got a second home system that nobody can ever touch, ever, 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 ever. It's so good. Yeah, Ghosts were a different kind of beast in TI3, but not necessarily better, but just like
Just
some
weird.
different operations.
Yeah, just like Ghosts sitting in the Wormhole Nexus, no one being able to touch them.
Yep.
It was just like, okay, so you can't be eliminated from the game, but congrats, you have this like
Right.
really bad planet.
Right.
And that's it.
We're so close, and we're
Yeah,
so.
I know, I hear you.
Publicize weapon schematics. 4. If any player owns a Warsun tech, all players may ignore all prerequisites on Warsun technologies. All Warsuns lose sustained damage. Against, each player that owns a Warsun tech discards all of his action cards.
Tough call, baby.
I'll say this much. Honestly, I don't think it is, because in almost every game, there's just no threat of Warsuns being a thing. Nothing's going to happen.
I don't know. I just feel like I don't know. I feel like this could be a tough call because if someone does, then I think I could see people being like, all right, let's all go 4, because not only do they get a unit upgrade late game, they make Warsuns less powerful. I'm not really thinking in the sense of like everybody's going to want to build Warsuns because people generally don't want to.
I think it de-incentivizes you to want to. Now you have even less reason to get Warsuns. Your Warsuns will be better, and everyone else will get them.
Right. But I think I actually may ignore all prerequisites on, and so you still have to research it.
One person one person has to do all of the legwork to
Yeah.
get Warsuns.
Right.
Their Warsuns are bad.
Yeah.
They don't have sustained damage, and everyone else now can easily get Warsuns.
I think it's just about making them lose their sustained damage.
This only is a thing when Muwata's in the game. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
that's true.
basically
Just
it.
it really, really hurts their one thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean it's
Yeah.
it's a rough one.
Yeah.
Though what's interesting about it though is a base game Muwat doesn't own Warsun tech; they just have Warsuns.
That's true.
So all this does is hurt their Warsuns. So the against, they won't lose their action cards. Like it doesn't do that much to Muwat, but it is still they will lose sustained damage, and that's the only thing that the 4 does.
That's really
In that
weird.
situation, it's a very, very strange one, and kind of feels like a corner case agenda every time it comes up. I
Yeah.
always feel like it's just like let's just move on, because it actually won't end up doing really anything.
I think I like this one. I'm not sure. Can I read this one?
Hunter's gonna read.
Representative government law. 4. Players cannot exhaust planets to cast votes. During the agenda phase, each player may cast 1 vote on each agenda instead. Against. At the start of the next strategy phase, each player that voted against exhausts all of his cultural planets. Man, if that against
Wasn't cultural.
was a little more like meaty.
Yep.
Because I actually really dig the 4. Like
Right.
I think it's funny when it happens and everybody becomes equal.
It's very easy for one player to be like, I only have 1 cultural planet, and it's a 1-3. I'm totally happy to vote all my votes against and make it go away.
It's too easily canceled. That
Right.
4
What
is a
would
cool
be
situation.
the great against? All votes are revealed simultaneously.
Yeah, that's a good little in joke.
So Yeah, this one's hard to get to have happen, but I feel like it does happen a decent amount because...
It happened once. I played with it once.
I think usually the situation revolved around this one is there's like 3 players that just never feel like they're going to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, we can all 3 pull together and we can make the 4 happen.
Yeah.
Because all 3 of us are never going to have the good end of it, but now we can increase our voting potential by a lot. So I do think the vote happens quite a lot for, but there's just a really easy against in it. So depending on the game, the against is super easy to have happen.
The problem is that obviously anybody with high influence is not going to want 4, so how are you going...
Right, how are you supposed to win that?
Yeah.
The person with Mechatol Rex and...
Assassinate representative.
Yeah. That's
Promissory notes.
Yeah.
Promissory notes become a big deal right then. Also, writers are a big deal on that agenda.
Yeah,
because
for
they're
sure.
about to get less useful in the future. Let's do regulated conscription. 4, when a player produces units, he produces only 1 fighter or infantry for its cost instead of 2. Against, no effect.
Boo!
Boring, and also, like, only hurts a couple races, and most factions just, like, don't even care that. Like, I don't know who wants this besides, well, there's a soul on the loose.
But that doesn't work because... It wouldn't apply to when Soul does
It
orbital
doesn't-
drop,
right,
so it
yeah.
doesn't hurt Soul.
And so I
Soul
guess it hurts
wants it,
Arborek, it
actually.
hurts Nalu. So you're hurting like 2 races pretty explicitly, and then everyone else is just like, well, it's probably
I actually
okay.
think this is the most pro-Soul law, because if 4 does happen, Soul is the only person that still gets to plop down to
anywhere
infantry, and they can plop them down anywhere. And generally, the math that you do as Soul is how many infantry can that guy bring to this planet, or how much bombardment. And now I don't even have to worry about the infantry
because you're bringing not many.
You're not bringing enough for sure.
Yeah, that law though late game is completely useless.
Yeah, who cares?
Because everyone has already decided where their planets are.
Might be a good phase 1, but the against is still
It's
probably
still
going to
whatever.
happen.
Yeah.
So
Shared research. 4, each player's units can move through nebulae. I don't know why it says nebulae. There's 1 nebula on the board. I get why it says it, because maybe in an expansion they'll introduce more, but that's a weird 4. Against, each player places a command token from his reinforcements in his home system if able. I've never seen the 4 not happen, because almost everybody at the board doesn't care. There are 4 people at the board where it's like, the nebula doesn't even affect me. Why would I vote against and have to activate my home system? There's almost no...
just let it go.
There's no incentive for this one. This one, if you are in the lead and you need to protect yourself from scary agendas, plop this one right there on top, buddy, because nobody cares and nobody's gonna care, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. Mm-hmm. Even if you have the nebula like adjacent to your home system, it still isn't probably gonna hurt you that much. Mm-hmm. There's just almost nothing people can do with this agenda being in play,
right?
And the against is so bad that it's never going to happen.
Yeah, no, it's bunk 1.
Executive sanctions. 4, each player can have a maximum of 3 action cards in his hand. Against, each player discards 1 random action card.
This is a good one
from his hand. This is a good one.
It's hard because the 4 sucks and the against sucks, and that's
Yep.
what I think I'm looking for in these.
Yeah. So just like the Ghost of Creus, Asarel is so pumped
So
to have this
happy
in
to
play
have
because
this.
now everyone has almost no action cards, and you're gonna have a million bajillion Amelia Bedelia. I'm always mad when the 4 happens on this one, no matter what. Like, I just think it's always crazy that anyone would want the 4 to happen
Right.
because, like,
well, if you didn't have Neural Motivator,
I guess,
and you
but
feel
like,
behind.
even still, I can't imagine the situation where I'm like, I mean, I guess if you, I don't feel like I'm ever gonna play a game where I'm doing really badly in action card. Like I have now been awoken to how good action cards are and how
You're
important
woke
they
now.
are.
Your hashtag-
Stop it. We're not.
If I have 7 action cards, I feel like 4 of those action cards are not going to get used by the end of the game. I'm holding on
Okay,
to
sure.
them.
The timing of this card does matter quite a lot.
yeah.
Could be a big deal for the end game. If you're in the lead and it's round 5, yeah, of course, make everyone lose a bunch of their action cards. I get that. I get that. The timing of this one is so important.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. It's
That's
one.
interesting.
I feel like my attitude with a lot of these is just, yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
It's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
It's
I
gonna be
think-
a
I
game
think
of
the-
TI that is not one I've played before.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think the smarter decision would probably be usually to just go ahead and burn this one.
Yeah, and
because it's bad either way.
Isarl is going to run amok in this game.
Yes.
Isarl is going to.
Oh yeah.
If
Really?
Isarl's in the game, you have to burn this one.
Yeah.
If you're Isarl and you get this one, congratulations, you just won the game.
Right.
Like you
Right.
just earned victory.
That what a crazy Buck Wild experience you're about to have, Isarl.
Yeah. Conventions of War. I feel like this one comes up in like 90% of games.
Yeah, it comes up
and
a
I
lot.
hate it. Players cannot use bombardment against units that are on cultural planets.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Against each player that voted against discards all of his action
The
cards.
against is too hardcore.
Yeah, it's like the same problem as that Nebula one. Why would almost nobody is affected by cultural planets not being allowed to be bombarded? That is so many things it requires. I need to have cultural planets. My neighbor needs to have dreadnoughts looming on my doorstep or war suns looming on my door. Like, who cares about the 4 happening?
I'll say this though. I think from an agenda design perspective, if you will rewind about an hour when we were doing the elect cultural planet ones, I believe it was meant to combo with like
Cultural planets are good.
with the because all the good elect planet is elect cultural planet.
I guess
stuff.
so.
There's even the one that's for a VP.
Right.
So if we took bombardment out of the equation, that might be. But what is this I'm sorry. I'm trying to be charitable.
We're relying on multiple cultural planet agendas coming up, and just
That's probably not going to happen. But still, it is maybe going to be clutch sometime, but probably not ever.
I've never seen it be clutch, and I've seen it come up in so many games. Just
That
like
against is so hardcore.
Yeah.
Like it's like I feel like it literally pretty much has to be 4. Like
Yeah.
it's just like, well, I've been bullied.
No,
not
I
just-
love the against, but the 4 needs to be
Spicy.
It needs to be
Yeah.
something else that's brutal.
If they were both hardcore, it would just
The,
be like
the problem is it's an against that incentivizes you not to pick against. If you pick against, you're the only one losing the action cards anyways.
right.
Why would anyone ever
it needs
vote
to be
against?
like 4, lose all trade goods. Against, lose all action
Right.
cards. Like just either sucks.
Pick your fate.
The 4 is so nothing. All right, guess what, everybody?
Last
we made
one.
It.
We did
made
it. Wow, I
all
can't
the
believe
way.
we did this
There is
episode.
absolutely no way that this is not the longest episode we've ever had. Because
Yep.
Hunter, we still have a rata to do about the Ghost of
I was
Krios.
assuming we were going to kick that can down.
Let's
to
kick it down
next
the road.
episode.
I'm
Yep.
sorry, we're kicking it down the road
Yeah.
because this is ridiculous.
Redonkulous.
Wormhole. It's fitting. We're not doing any ghost errata,
Yep.
but here's the final note. Wormhole reconstruction. 4. All systems that contain either an alpha or beta wormhole are adjacent to each other.
Oh.
Against, each player places a command counter from his reinforcements in each system that contains a wormhole and one or more of his ships. This is possibly worse than the other bad wormhole one for ghosts.
So you're telling me the 4 is everyone gets to be the Ghosts of Krios,
Yep.
and the against is hurt the Ghosts of Krios.
Why did they feel the need to
Why
make so many agendas that are like, ghosts?
Yeah.
Not today.
Yeah, remember? You know what? And Dane Bell
Dane's
told me this is your favorite race, and you were like, I want everyone to hurt me. Hurt me, I'm Dane, and I really want you to hurt me.
I get it, though. I think he was... Yeah, have you ever heard that phrase, kill your darlings?
Yep.
I think he was... I think that was the thing, is Dane loved the ghosts so much, he wanted to challenge them. He knew they could rise to the challenge.
Yeah. This one is so bad for ghosts, it is in both directions.
There's really nothing you can do. You're just like, well, bad or bad.
Yeah.
Pick your poison.
I abstain, and I'm gonna go throw a toaster in the bathtub. I gotta go.
It's funny because I was just saying I want both to be bad.
Yeah.
But this is just so
Okay,
obviously
let's-
bad
Well,
for
because it's
ghosts.
only bad for one player. That's the problem. It's not bad for the table.
Okay, but let's get our minds out of this. Ghosts are not in this game.
Oh, yeah.
Now how do we feel about this
I
agenda?
forgot there's 17 races.
sometimes-
And then, not to do math again, but 6 players, 17 races. That means there's 11...
I will say this much. Ghosts are in more than 1/17 of games.
Yeah, that's
They're a spicy race that people like to play.
1/17th. How would that math work out? That's crazy.
All right, so let's reword our brains. Let's reword our brains and talk about wormhole reconstruction as if
Well, now it's
There
just
weren't ghosts.
random as to who this is going to be
right,
good or
who's
bad.
maybe
It's so
in the
situational
wormholes,
now.
who's gonna
Yeah.
There's nothing to even talk about.
I don't even know. Yeah, it just depends on who's going to be where.
My attitude is it's a bonanza. Open those wormholes.
Yeah, right.
Let's
Open
get
it.
'em
Yeah.
open.
Yeah.
Open them. Open them. Give it to Alex.
Let's give it to
Alex.
but give it to me.
No, let's give it to Alex. Elect Wormhole. This one is Alex.
I do want to say something about the usage of politics, though, after having gone through these.
Yeah.
If you play politics and you see any of these elect players that very clearly it's going to hurt a certain type of faction,
Get them.
and that faction is in your game, throw it in there.
Get 'em!
Try to get something out of it.
Get them!
It is the flaw of factions that can be easily hurt by things because there's just no reason not to.
Watch out for those ones that you think might hurt Soul, but actually help them.
Yep. Yeah. All of those are not as good as you think they are.
Oh, yeah.
Those are not as good as you think they is.
Did you notice how we never said there was an anti-soul one? They were all like, no, that might seem like it's bad for Soul, but it ain't.
It's not. Let's do the soapbox right now of everyone should start playing against Soul more often. They're better than... You might even think they're good. They're better than you think they is.
Oh.
Did it twice.
If Extra's in the game and you're their neighbor, you get in there early.
Yeah.
And if you see someone across the table doing that to Extra, just let them do it.
Yeah.
They're helping you.
Yeah.
They
What
are
sucks is,
actually
you
helping.
don't want Extra to be able to do that kind of thing, but you do want them to do it against Soul.
Well, we are 2 hours deep into this episode, and I bet you a lot of the people have left at this point.
Yeah.
They've turned it off long ago.
Hey, Jada, how's it going? You're the only one still listening.
Hi, it's
nice
just
to
us.
see you.
Do we want to reveal the super secret ultimate strategy to win every game of Twilight Imperium now that it's just us friends?
Yeah, what?
The super secret
Okay.
one?
Yeah, Hunter, we've been talking about this for months now.
All right.
Go ahead.
Here we go. This is the super secret way to win every game of Twilight Imperium. If you're playing on Tabletop Simulator, there's a button. If you look up on the top bar, there's a button called Flip. If you click that, you win the game. If you're playing in real life, what you can do
There's a
is
button
if you...
on the bottom of a table. You have to hit it very hard.
Every table has this button, and if you press it with all of your might, you will win the game. I won't tell you exactly what happens. Everyone will love it.
Don't worry, you don't have to feel for it. It's the entire bottom of a table is the button.
You have to press as hard as you can, and you're going to feel the table start to give way.
You
like
are
it's gonna
you are a
flip
mother,
over.
and the table is a child under a bus, and you just need to hit that button.
It's like, you know when you're doing like stuff on a car and you're afraid like, oh, it feels like there's too much give here, like I might actually hurt this car. You're not going to hurt the car, okay? You're not going to hurt it. Just keep
Hunter,
pushing on that table.
I need you to back up.
What?
What am I doing on a car?
Sometimes I do like car maintenance stuff.
Do you?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Describe it for me.
Like sometimes I have to like put I'll put there's this like fluid stuff,
Yeah.
and if I put it in the muffler,
Yeah.
so it's like honey, right? And you stuff it deep into the muffler, and once you do that, a family of bees will start living there. Those bees give you the go juice.
Yeah, the go juice.
And make the car go vroom fast.
Well, that's the whole thing. A bee, when you get 400 bees together, that's what gives the car the...
right. Well, a lot of people don't know. Yeah, it is
It's
it's
just
a
a bunch of
buzz.
bees.
It's a buzz.
It's a bunch of
And
bees
a lot of
inside
people
that
don't
engine.
realize that it is a buzz, but that is actually a buzz.
I don't know why we call it horsepower.
Because horses ain't got nothing to do with it. So this was too long and bad. It was good. It was fine.
At least we were
we did.
rolling dice.
Yeah, that's true. At least we weren't rolling dice. Is there? How was this end? Did it already end? Actually, this might already be.
No,
over,
we
right?
do a rundown and we do a play of the week.
Oh yeah, we got to
Hunter,
do the rundown.
We don't have the thing in front of us, so Hunter, give me the rundown from your brain. And
From memory.
I'm going to pull up the play of the
Okay,
week.
that's good. I'm glad I'm doing it. So you can hook up with us on Twitter, Space Cats Pod. What you can hook up there is our digits, where we're going to be in what we like to do on a Friday night. Also, game announcements and some other stuff. You can look us up on Facebook, Space Cats. Peace Turtles is the name of the show that you've been listening to for 2 hours, in case you needed to know. We've got game announcements, fun little bits of horse trivia. Also, we have a Patreon. If you want to help make the show better, if you want to make it slimmer, sexier, if you want there to be more
Third episode in a row that Hunter has said the word sexy. All right.
sexier.
That's turning into a drinking game thing.
Yeah, and if you want, just whatever. Just get in on it. We're doing a video at Gen Con in Indianapolis this August, and with all the money's going to that, really, and it's nuts. Cool, good. Every week you can see us post on Reddit Twilight Imperium. That's where the best place to do discussions on episodes. If you want your errata to be featured in the errata portion of the show that we didn't even do this week, put it there. We have a Board Game Geek Guild, baby. We have a Discord channel that you should check out.
All right, I got a play of the week for you all.
Yeah.
Actually, let's thank some Patreoners. Let's just, off the top of your head, who are some Patreoners you know we should thank? This is fun. This is like who are the names that exclusively stick out to us? I will not be able to do Lands of Titles with this one.
In Mac we trust.
Yeah.
Effin' Dragon.
Thom. Chisel. We thanked Chisel last week. Whatever.
Uh-oh. No big deal, man.
Yeah.
Laxo's one.
Laxo.
Alex Lilburn. Alex Lilburn, come here. Hey, come here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here's a play of the week for everybody. This one is from Falcone 1983. Weirdly enough, born in like 1700. He's an infinite being.
Wow.
So
He actually lived through Twilight Imperium.
yeah, round 1, I have Tech, and I get Sarween tools and Gravity Drive after refreshing Centauri Grawl via Diplosecond. Wow, lucky you. Soul builds a space dock on Berrig. He gets a free refresh from the trade player, but doesn't make any transactions. Round 2. I offer Soul my support for the throne for his 4 commodities, which he accepts, putting him at 1 victory point. I research Super Dreadnought 2 and build 2 more dreads via Warfare. Then I play Flank Speed so that both dreads in my home system and the one in Centauri Grawl can reach Barrigler to 4, going around the Gravity Rift and taking 5 infantry and a fighter with them. I take both planets, assimilate the space dock, and immediately build 2 free fighters via Sarween tools. I score the secret objective for winning a fight against the VP leader, which Soul was due to my support for the throne, and the public objective for having 6 planets, which I had no other way of doing. Soul was in no position to retaliate after that, and even if he could, it would cost him the support for the throne victory point. So basically, my support for the throne bought me 4 trade goods, 2 victory points, a space dock, 2 free fighters, the best system in the game, and secured a right flank well into the mid-game.
That was the mean of the week.
The
take advantage. We told you earlier, right?
Take advantage of newbies.
2 hours
Yeah,
later.
I mean, you guys have brought this up before. Twilight Imperium is a lot easier if your opponents don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, dude, yeah.
That was even Dane Beltrami's recommendation on how to play Winnu.
First round strategy, Winnu. Play with people that don't know how to play.
And just take Megasaur and be like, no, Megasaur X isn't that important, so I'm going to win now. All right, that's it. Get me out of here. Thank you so much for listening to Space Cats Peace Turtles.
Yeah, actually, guys, if you could send special thank yous to Baby Boo Boo Matt because he worked hard on what you just listened to, and I'm sorry. You know what's funny is that I started that sentence intending to be sincere, and then I was like, it'd be more fun if I was mean, wouldn't it? Because not only are you going to hear it now, but then later, after you've done all of the work that you will be doing, and it'll be a lot, you'll then hear me saying this. And then even if you cut it out, what's great is that you still have to hear it in the headphones.
You say it.
You're hearing me now, and then I get you again later after you've done all my work for me.
Can I say one thing before we go off the air?
I mean, now, yeah, anything goes.
Hunter and I were talking backstage in the green room, and he told me he really, really loves it when everyone thanks him in the Discord. Especially
So thanks at Hunter.
Inconvenient hours of the night. So, like, if you live in Europe or Australia, like, during your daytime.
Like once an hour.
Yeah, once.
Just give a thanks for Hunter.
Yeah.
My Twitter handle is HunBunson, so if you want to follow me and thank me there, I haven't posted since 2015. So if you just started dumping some thank yous there, and maybe if you also added me and Steve Martin to thank us both together,
that would be good.
That might be fun too.
Draw that link. Or else can you annoy Hunter? I've got his address right here. Let me just go ahead and pull that up.
You good luck with that. Good luck with that. I'll move. It won't cost me nothing. I live in a hole.
Thank you for listening to Space Cat's Peace Turtles. And thanks to Ben Prunty for the use of his music. You can find more at benpruntymusic.com and benprunty.bandcamp.com. Pax Magnifica, Bellum Gloriosum.